Celebrate the legacy of Duke Pa'oa Kahanamoku, ambassador of aloha and father of international surfing at Waikiki Beach, August 18th through the 26th, with fun events for the whole family. Matson Menehune Surf Contest, Duke's Waikiki Amateur Longboard Classic, Access Surf Hawaii Adaptive Surf Championships, Outrigger Hotels and Resorts Beach Volleyball Tournament, Calvin and Susie presents Going to the Dogs Surfer Competition, the Duke's Waikiki Ocean Mile Swim, Nakoa Wounded Warriors Canoe Regatta, Pacific Tandem Surfing, and more. Duke's Ocean Fest, August 18th through the 26th.
Aloha kakahiaka kako. Good morning, everyone. We're live from Waikiki Beach here at the Duke's Ocean Fest. You can see the setup that we have here right on this world-acclaimed beach, and we're celebrating a week-long activities here, ocean-related activities. A lot of the sports that Duke was involved in, Kaipo Guerrero, along with Rocky Cannon and John Davis here. And what we're going to get into this morning is the Hawaii Adaptive Surfing Championships, all part of Access Surf. John, you can tell us a little bit more about it.
You got to Access Surf, an ocean of possibilities here. Getting people into the water, having that healing experience occur. It's changed your guys' life. It's changed my life. The ocean is there for us to use and for us to appreciate, respect all those amazing things that that interchange of ideas and creativity. And so it's just amazing to be here. And the first ever live feed here in Oahu for an adaptive surf event as well.
Making history.
We're
going to pick up into heat number 3 for the men's sitting division, round 1, heat 1. And these are folks like you, John, that you are a former competitor in the sitting division, former champion, and such a great creativity you see with the equipment. I'm always fascinated each and every year. It seems like there's something new or something developed as we watch Red up and riding. That's Felipe Lima from Brazil. So the Hawaii Adaptive Surfing Championships now has drawn world-acclaimed international competitors all traveling here to Waikiki to compete.
It is true, and it's a board equipment, board design. That's part of that adaptation of getting in the water. I look down at the regular tourists that come down here. They adapt to the surfboards as well when they go to learn to surf and get that feeling in the water that gets them the most comfortable.
Yeah, we are adapting and enabling. I love this shot over high up in the sky, and you can see the beautiful reef and sand bottom, the mix here at Waikiki. Queens surf break specifically, Rocky. And
so clear.
Yeah,
and you can
beautiful.
see the wakes coming off of those surf skis right there. And actually, that was Red Danny Burt in the last heat that we saw for the standing division. So that was her last wave, or it was their last wave. And now we're into the sitting division. You heard the horn blow, and there's our stage setup with those amazing Access Surf beach carpets that really do provide amazing access. And now they're at beaches everywhere in Hawaii. So great to see our visitors and Kama'aina being able to get that close to the water, which before, we have very soft sand here. So difficult to get a wheelchair down there. Access Surf providing those rollways, those ramps and carpets. Great idea.
Amazing idea. Being able to access the beach and not being able to access the beach, it's two different worlds, two different mindsets. 12 years ago when Access Surf rolled out these beach mats, women with strollers, families, boom, it brought that ohana, brought that family down here. Obviously the wheelchairs is just an easy, anybody with any mobility impairment, it makes it easy. I was at the U.S. Open of Surfing years ago as well, and they had built walkways when Life Rolls On was the nonprofit that was the beneficiary of that event. More people were walking on the walkways than the sand, just able-bodied people. It's easier and more accessible just for everybody. So it's just a nice avenue to get to the beach, get to the water, and it just shows that we're welcoming here in Waikiki and welcoming wherever there's beaches to get anybody who wants to come to the beach on the beach.
Yeah, the key would be access, and that's a big part of it, and enabling. Thanks again to Salt and Air Studios for bringing this broadcast. We got the cameras, we have the drones, we've got everything set up, and Rocky, I love the fact that it's very organic. Our studio right now, we are literally toes in the sand right now.
Yes, toes in the sand, the beach booth. There's the surfing duck that's going to make an appearance on Thursday during our animal surfing event. And can't wait to see that.
Get down.
Yeah.
I mean, duck. I mean,
There he is right there. What's his name or her name?
I'm not sure. We'll find that out shortly. Here comes a wave for our surfers in the water, and that looks like red. That's Felipe Lima from Brazil, part of that international contingency, kind of getting caught behind the white water for a moment, but goes up and almost pulls the Rolo and rights himself. That's amazing. Awesome job. Score-wise, you know, you want to be on the open face doing the carves, but just getting warmed up, 20-minute heat, plenty of time for Felipe to get more.
Two of these gentlemen, Felipe Lima and Spike Kane, were in the finals last year, so we got a pretty stacked heat already starting off here. Let's take a look at the replay as Felipe catches the first wave of the heat here. Great priority there. Closest to the curl always takes the wave first. A nice little cutback coming down the line. Felipe is looking for the off-the-top tricks. He has a bag of tricks that no other wave skier has. Barrels, off the tops. His next is an air. He's one that can pull it off, and he can pull the rolls after he gets off the wave.
split peak here. So we have our other two competitors in Spike Kane and Ethan Carrier going left and right.
An international heat here with the Brazilian competitor, Spike Kane in the white from Great Britain, and from the USA, Ethan Carrier. Carrier?
Yeah, it's, Carrere.
Carrier.
Yeah,
we'll go with that.
And you'll see different paddling styles. You'll see different ability levels. Felipe is a lower injury. I believe he's about a 212 paraplegic, so it's fairly low, belly button, we'll say. Spike Kane is almost a quadriplegic, a tetraplegic. He has limited use of his arms as well.
Okay.
And then Ethan is more of that T12, T11 paraplegic as well. And you'll just see the different ability levels come through as they surf the waves and as they go for their maneuvers. That ability that Kizu, that Felipe has, will really shine through, and you'll see more dynamic maneuvers from him.
And since we're watching your division here, John, tell us again the years that you were champion.
2011, 2012.
2011, 2012.
Nice. As we see people prepping for upcoming heats. John, I want to ask you about the equipment. Are all of, I mean, because you have different abilities, like you said, does the equipment change between the riders that way?
It does, and as our viewers know, and as you guys know, the waves dictate what you surf most of the time. Whether you're in California surfing a point break, you should be on a longboard a lot of the times because those waves dictate that it's easier to take off out the back. You ride it all the way through, those long paddles. Here at Queens, kind of a longboard wave, more so than a high-performance shortboard wave, even though it gets good. So these guys now have 2 and 3 boards. They'll have boards that are a little step up when the waves are a little smaller because they need that little extra paddle power, that little extra push to stay on the wave. And then once you're in more of those punchy beach break waves, like the juicier, the ISA World Adaptive Championships are held in La Jolla on a beach break wave. These guys will shrink their boards down. Some of the wave ski guys will be on 7-foot boards. Whereas back in my day, I was on more of a 9-foot, you know, and above as my standard shortboard. So the shapes have really changed a lot as the progression of the sport has evolved.
Are they custom shapes? Are they foam and fiberglass, or are they rotomolded, or is there a mix between constructions?
There is. It's mainly the standard construction of a surfboard.
Okay.
You know the variable here, and you guys are very familiar, and our viewers are very familiar as well. Here's some of the boards right here. It's the shapers.
Right.
It's working with the shapers. 9 times out of 10 to get their attention, to get your ideas across, and to have that board designed perfectly, that how you want it. It's difficult. You got to be there almost every day. The blanks and the computer designs aren't really there yet for consistency. We're getting to that point where you can say, hey, I want that 7.4 that Felipe Lima has.
Gotcha.
We're getting to that point where they can push the button, have the software in, and that machine will design that board. A guy like Steve Bainey or Tyler Lawson, or some of these wave ski specific guys now that are really designing wave skis, as well as other boards, can really fine-tune athletes' quivers, in a sense. And
yeah, talking about Steve Bainey, Infinity Surfboards out of Dana Point, he really was a pioneer in great shaper just with any kind of vehicle, but he really has been a pioneer in wave skis.
In wave skiing, a multi-world champion tandem surfer as well with his wife Barry. Amazing family, his 2 boys, Dave and Dan. You guys know them very well, the dentist, and David has taken over there for the marketing at Infinity Surf Shop, and just an amazing family. I can't thank Steve enough for helping to do what he does, and it's full of aloha, it's full of ohana. He open sources all of his information. He open sources all of his designs. People can ask him anything, other shapers, anybody, to learn how to help design boards for these adaptive athletes. And without Steve being involved, I don't think the sport would be where it is today. So hats off to Steve Bainey and the guys at Infinity Surf.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. And speaking of Steve Bainey and Barry Bainey, later on in the week at the Dukes Ocean Fest, we're also going to see some tandem surfing. You know, right now we have the Hawaii Adaptive Surfing Championships for the next 3 days. We're going to have that mix, but this is a week-long celebration. Rocky, you were already on site.
It's actually 9 days.
9 days.
So
well, you were already on site.
A week plus 2. I've been on site for the Matson Menehune.
Yeah, the Menehunes yesterday.
Surf Fest yesterday and on Saturday. So great to have Matson part of the sponsorship and the last 4 years and doing what they do for the kids each and every year here. The kids were ripping. So fun to watch them compete in longboard, shortboard. We had kokuas at Baby Queens. It was, I told them, oh, let's, you know, I like the Triple M Matson Menehune Madness. Ooh. More of a title, but I think they like to incorporate the Surf Fest with the Ocean Fest, so we went with that. But Rocky's little subtitle is Matson Menehune Madness, and it was madness all weekend down here.
Rocky, I want a translation. You used the word kokua. What does that mean, and what was that division?
Kokua means to help or to assist, and we do have some kokua divisions here at the Access Surf Hawaii Adaptive Surfing Championships coming up a little later, and those athletes really impress me just with their determination, their commitment, courage. You know, when you don't have use of your limbs, water's not the best place to be. And John wanted to talk a little bit about Access Surf and the amazing volunteers that you guys have and the crew and how much those people mean to you guys.
The volunteers make up Access Surf. To have that kind of training from a volunteer and consistency from people that take time off of work, take vacation to come and to be a part of this experience here, it is our hats off to them. Just that they will give their time and give their generosity to come and help out and to be a part of. Here's Felipe Lima here, somebody like Felipe Lima, launching Felipe, who's very able. You can see him surf completely unassisted. Beautiful style, just easy cutbacks. Little high tide still. We're waiting for that tide to drop, so it's gonna get that fat section on the inside at Queens there before it hits that inside shelf. But he worked that wave as best as it could have been worked right there. But on the beach, he's like everyone else that needs a little bit of a hand. You know, he's the most able guy in the water once he gets there. But just that little interface of the beach, those volunteers that know how to help, how to grab him, get him back in his chair safely. No injuries at any part of this. You know, no blood at the beach, right? That's our that's our motto, right? You know, no blood at the beach.
Always striving for that. So. As we watch the replay of Felipe, one thing you talked about, John, him working the wave. I really like how he's working his rail. He's getting that rail buried in the water just like a hard carving slash and basically made something out of almost nothing.
Yeah, he's going to get a score for that. You saw Ethan in the yellow jersey having to give way to Felipe because, of course, we don't have a priority system here, but our priority is determined by your positioning on the wave, right, John?
It's definitely correct. And priority came up in the athletes meeting so much yesterday, and it was a heated debate. A priority system was going to be involved here in this contest, and as you guys know, 4 athletes in the water, red, yellow, blue, orange discs, all kinds of communication when you're a quarter mile out to sea.
Right.
It's very tough to communicate. Closest to the curl has the right of way. Queens comes in at a little bit of an angle and sort of widens out a little bit, so that peak can sort of shift a little bit, not really, but a little bit. So there was a little discrepancy last year with people taking off on each other, and there was a lot of sort of heated debates on the beach of, you know, why'd you do that kind of stuff, you know? And
I like the progression of the competition level of the adaptive surfing of where it's come to. You know, over the years, it's been more of like just to get out there, have fun with each other. Everybody's riding the same wave, you know, drop in, whatever. I really like how seriously competitive these athletes have kind of demanded themselves to be and hold everybody else accountable as well. because it is a competition. You know, you get sometimes out there, like during the Menehune, the last couple of days, kind of a free-for-all, which is fun to watch too. But this being their championship level international competition, I really like how competitive they're getting and sticking to those interference rules.
It's so important, and here we go with Spike Kane. Spike is a great British competitor here. He lives actually in Oceanside these days, and he looks like he's riding a new board. And again, Spike,
Whoa.
that was the first time I've seen Spike roll. That was an incredible maneuver. Is he up? I think he flipped back over, but that is how Spike needs to do that roll. Use the whitewater, use the energy of the wave to get back up.
Check out the board. He's got a quad setup, so actually 4 fins for Spike. And he did attempt that El Rolo, which was a kind of a progressive maneuver.
Very much so. To get back on the board and back out without having to do this, your energy level, his energy level is depleting just getting back on the board. His arm strength is not what it should be for regular.
Here's a replay, John.
You see Spike here fighting that whitewater. The whitewater's a little tough for the wave ski. You can see that little bit extra in the back of the tail there. It catches. Just wants to straighten him out. He did well to keep that rail engaged. And he's got those step-up rails. What do they call the inset rails?
Yep. Kind of a bevel
Rail
where
channels.
we can grab a hold of.
And a lot of these guys are going to that. They want the purchase. They want the bite. And as Rocky mentioned before, they want to win the competition with that extra bite and purchase to get up to the lip, make them get the maneuver completed, and have that projection and speed down the line.
Well, we've yet to see from Ethan Carrere, but so far it looks like to me, we do have live scores up in the beach announcing tower, so those are getting delivered out to the surfers, but we don't quite yet have them in front of us here. But looking at the competition, the way Felipe has been putting it on the rail, that one wave was probably the standout so far. And here goes Ethan as we speak. Yep.
Nice behind the section there. I like the way he came from behind it, gets out in front, and gets a nice cut back in. Getting to that sort of little flatter section there before that inside reef. When that low tide, it'll start to work all the way through here for us.
And where is Ethan from specifically? It says USA on our paper, but
I know he's living down in that San Diego Oceanside area, and a lot of the guys are in that San Diego Oceanside area. Board builders are down there.
Right.
Easy access to waves. They've been surfing a lot at Santa Onofre because the paddle was accessible to them at the end of the beach there at Santa Onofre. They were able to do the stand-up and be able to use the paddles there. They're now surfing more at Cardiff. They want the better waves. They want to go to Seaside Reef. They want to go to Blacks. They want to do the surf the breaks. And here's Ethan again. He's been training a lot.
Almost got a little barrel right there. He looked like he was tucking in to get under the curl, which in that position on the board, on the ski, when you're, in that lower position, man, if we get some size, later in the day, maybe even tomorrow, could see one of these guys sneak into a little tube ride.
You know what I liked about that replay was actually Felipe, it looked as if he was a gentleman and he was conscious of, I caught already a few waves. It looked to me like he backed off and let Ethan, have that ride. And that just gives me chicken skin right now because that's a higher level of caring and responsibility for each other. So I love to see that stuff.
On the other side of the coin of that competition, rigid, got to get it, we saw the camaraderie.
Yeah.
2 really good C words right there.
And you guys know the Latin word for competition, right? It's competire, which means to seek together.
For sure, I knew that.
So it is to
Brushing
seek
up on
together.
our Latin all week.
I think we misinterpret.
What is it?
I think it's so the Latin meaning. It's competition is competire, which means to seek together.
To sit together.
To seek together through your other fellow athletes, through the coaches, through everybody at the event as well. And no one does it better than Felipe Lima. He is a diehard competitor.
Wow.
Getting that tip of that board pointed back towards the whitewater. That is a completed roundhouse cutback. That's what the judges want to see as far as progressive maneuvers, performance, and pushing the limit.
In contrast, Felipe from Brazil, the Portuguese word for competition is bateria.
Okay.
Like a battle.
Oh, yes.
And that's so true. So Felipe was watching the surf. Here's Ethan here. Another nice, great recovery there. He looked like he was going to catch an outside rail. Nice recovery to lean back towards the wave, bounce off the whitewater, get that control again. Length of ride does, I think, play into part today. I think it's going to play a little bit of a factor, a half a point, whatever it might be, but I like that they're finishing their waves. I always want to see you step off and finish it.
And here goes Spike Kane with just a little bit of a swell, almost breaking there and not really able to get too much scoring potential, but nonetheless, he'll get a score for it. And I got to think some of these athletes are surfing this break maybe for the first time and traveling here maybe for the first time. Talk a little bit about what it takes to get here.
You got it. You got it. It takes a lot to get here. It does. You guys know the plane flights and the expense. These boards are still not light, not cheap. You travel with 2 and 3 of wave skis, 2 and 3 paddles for backup paddles in case you break some. A couple pairs of board shorts, not a big deal. But, you know, you got to have your board. Life's better than board shorts, obviously. But, you know, it's a lot of extra work. I just saw Rich Julian's wife, Kate, go by here. She had a basket full of goodies and wave skis and the kids' gear and everything. It is a whole extra step.
It's a production.
It's a production. It really is. I love not competing anymore. Yeah. I got my little rolly bag. I put it in the overhead. I'm just laughing. I got my headset, you know, it all set. But yeah,
it's the iconic Duke Kahanamoku statue in our beach setup right there, the merchandise tent. If you guys have a chance to come down to Waikiki over the next 7 days that will be here, make sure you come and make a purchase. The Duke Foundation, something amazing done by the Outrigger Hotels and Resorts Group, has granted scholarships, millions and millions of dollars over the years to Hawaii's young athletes and scholars. As we speak, here goes Spike Kane, sorry, giving him one Hawaiian name already.
He would love that. He would love that. Again,
adopting the Hawaiian names.
A little bit of a paddle. Giving way. Good priority for Felipe. Again, Felipe can get in position because of his abilities a lot better as well, and his experience in the waves. He grew up surfing. He has a surf company in a sense. His company is Rasta Wax.
Oh, wow.
So he's got, he makes his own wax. Some of the top Brazilian surfers do use his wax.
All right.
And Spike Kane, or excuse me, a replay of Ethan here. That was that maneuver where Ethan sort of looked like he was going to catch an outside rail. You saw his balance, and he leaned back into the wave perfectly, got that rail engaged, that inside rail, bounced off the whitewater, got control again.
You know, the ability of these athletes with their core to engage that core and keep balance, keep the board right side up when you've got a wave kind of pushing against you to force you the other way, the arm strength. It's amazing what these guys can do when they're out there on the water with just that core strength.
And you're thinking core, right, Rocky?
What's that?
Spike is paralyzed above his core.
Wow.
He can't even engage his core.
Wow.
So it's a lot's done with shoulders, with head movements, with small, intricate, little finite movements. And we'll see more of that with the assisted division, the quadriplegics that are prone. And the assisted division, they truly, as you mentioned earlier, their use of their arms and legs are completely lost.
That
sense.
Makes it even more impressive, John. So we had the end of that heat. That was our heat number 3 of the day. We're going to come up with the results, and we'll update you later. We're into heat number 4, so it looks like the women are in the water. And speaking of women, we have the merchandise booth right here at the beach, Rocky.
All going to the Duke Foundation. Amazing choice of merchandise there. They've rolled out some new things over the years. You know, they've had the coffee mugs, the water bottles, T-shirts, and all that, but there's beautiful like microfiber towels there, all kinds of different designs of T-shirts. They've got button-up polo shirts, and the aunties, the sisters, doing a good job advertising right there.
Love it.
Wow, that is straight off the Price is Right with those hand gestures. Lovely.
Vanna White.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a little microfiber towel I was talking about. And there's our amazing setup for 9 days. It is a tent city on the beach, all legal.
Take a look at our heat recap, and this is what happened in as we joined our broadcast day out in the water with Felipe, Spike, and Ethan.
And that was Ethan Carrere in the yellow out of California.
Well, that is the heat recap. We're going to be back with more action here from Waikiki Beach. Stick around. It's Access Surf, the Hawaii Adaptive Surfing Championships.
105.
The Hawaiian Music Station.
Hawaiian 105. Home of me, Shannon Scott.
And me, Mele Apana. The most Hawaiian music.
Support local music. Listen to Hawaiian 105.
Welcome back to beautiful Waikiki Beach. We are here at the Dukes Ocean Fest, and this is the Hawaii Adaptive Surfing Championships presented by Access Surf. Kaipo Guerrero along with Rocky Cannon and John Davis, and it's been so far so good. We've had 3 heats this morning, guys, and now, John, we're into the women's sit division.
We have the women's local celebrity, if you will, the Warrior Princess, Mira Va'a Duarte. Was up late, not too late last night, playing guitar, singing songs with her. We have some of the athletes that love to play and sing, and it's been a new pleasure of mine lately to get the guitar out and do that. So it's just great to have that energy flowing. Mira this morning, of course, she's got the red and yellow board out there. As soon as I rock up to the beach, I just see this amazing off-the-top / cutback. I'm like, who is that? And I see her hair. She's got the most beautiful hair you've ever seen. And turn of the morning so far for Mira, so hopefully she can put it together in her heat.
All right, and also in this heat we have Alana Nichols from the USA, fellow Hawaii surfer to Mira. We have Diane Whitcomb, and a Canadian. We have Victoria Fage out there. So that's a pretty nice mix of Hawaii surfers, USA and Canada, all North America.
Again, a stacked heat. This could be a final at any of these stops across the Adaptive Surfing Tour. All of these women have the capability to take the whole event out.
Who would be the favorite in this heat, John? You know, it is a stacked heat, but for this particular heat, who are you looking to as a favorite?
Elena Nichols is the competitor. She has the Paralympic experience. She has the Paralympic gold medals to back up that competition behavior, you know, her strengths. Mira is just got that aloha on her side. She is a smiling, happy, wonderful person to be around, and I think she's going to channel some of that energy here at Dukes to bring it together for her today.
Interesting, Rocky. Mira's middle name, Va'a. Can you give us a translation on that?
Va'a means canoe. It is actually it's spelled with a V, so it's the Tahitian version of the canoe. And she's got her little one-man Va'a out there right now. But in your frame, that is Victoria Fage in the black jersey from Canada. Tell us a little bit about Victoria.
Victoria is just an amazing athlete as well. She is a skier. Being from Canada, she has that more winter aspect. And I think the surfing has just been a great outlet for her to just reconnect with the ocean. Great guitar player as well. She led the charge last night, playing a lot of the songs for us.
You guys had your welcoming ceremony here at the statue, and it just kind of carried on from there?
You got it. We all got together there, and I've been doing some Skyping with Victoria via Skype just to do some playing music together. We've just been having a lot of fun just with the music side of things as well, away from the surf. So those friendships cross over. Here's Mira Va'a
There's
Duarte.
that hair you were talking about. It is very prominent. I can imagine what it's going to look like when she's flying down the line on one of these little Waikiki swells.
You got it. And a lot of these seats you can kind of see some people have the backrests on their seats as well to give them that little more purchase, a little more ability to not have to rely on the core. Mira has great core. She's looking for more of those high-performance waves that she can lean forward, lean back, and get up into that lip with and use her ability. We have Victoria here on her first wave. This is a nice behind-the-peak section here. She's going to get around it. You can see how the tail gets a little caught on that white water if you let it. She did a great job to regain control, regain that edge, and kick out with control.
So, John, a number of these athletes are multiple sports athletes as far as being adaptive athletes, right? You talked about Victoria, who we just saw. She also has a skiing background. What are some of the other sports that a lot of these athletes participate in? Because I think we have a pretty all-star field here.
You got to catch up on the replay just here really quick. But a lot of the mainstream sports, the basketball, skiing has been around for quite a while. I'm a two-time Paralympic gold medalist myself from '94 and '98, Lillehammer, Nagano, Japan.
Wow.
So having that opportunity to really have some of these established sports that you can take it to that final limit, that Paralympic Games for these adaptive athletes, is a treat. Surfing is getting there, as we know, even on the able-bodied side, as we see Mira take a scratch here, as we also have Elena Nichols here.
Yep. And Mira on that candy corn is what I'm going to call it.
I like it. I like it. Elena, I would have liked to seen her pull out a little bit sooner from that. Her competitive nature is kind of taken over a little bit there. That priority, Mira obviously closer to the curl.
Correct.
Had priority on that one. You want to make sure that you don't crumble the wave on your competitor. You don't have that interference of any sort.
Well, you know, just to refresh our viewers, the interference rule is in effect, and it is all about how another surfer affects scoring potential of another surfer. So we'll let the judges deal with that one, but you're right, John. You'd like to see a quicker pullout from a surfer on that one, but overall, I think the scoring potential probably wasn't as hindered, and she probably got out just in time, a second more, and it could have been a little more dicey. Here goes
She's right back
Mira
at
again.
it.
And Mira as well, that engaging that edge off the bottom. She wants that cut back and bringing that nose of that surfboard all the way back around into the whitewater. The judges love to see that every time. And if you can bounce it off the whitewater and get a sort of that re-entry from the whitewater, it just completes that maneuver that much more. And I think these athletes are looking to complete the maneuvers. They see other people doing them. They visualize them doing. They even feel it when they're just sitting in their chairs. You know, they can feel that energy and of them doing those cutbacks or hitting the lip and pulling those maneuvers off. And I think as their abilities catch up to their visualizations, they're going to start to really progress the sport from on the women's side especially.
Right. Yeah, it's all about, you know, completing those maneuvers, like you said, the full, complete cut back all the way to the whitewater. We'll watch a replay of Mira here stroking into a nice little Queen's right-hander and a beautiful bottom turn right there. Almost all you could see was that candy corn bottom of the board and blocked everything else out. That's when you know she's putting it on the rail.
Yes, and you know that when you get these airbrushes, you never know what you're going to get as well sometimes.
I'm just rolling with that one, man. It's like, I'm just thinking of Halloween all over again.
Exactly. But great calls on that. You want to see the bottom of the board. You want to see some fins showing, whatever you can. It's the same performance criteria that we're looking for on a WSL level, shrunk down to their ability levels here with these adaptive surfers. And like Elena, she has a ton of competitive experience in other sports. Colorado, New Mexico was where she grew up. Surfing's new to her, you know, and as you guys know, surfing is a respectful sport. I learned so much growing up in Santa Cruz from the old school guards, the Richard Smiths and Vince Colliers and Joey Thomases and, you know, the guys that designed my surfboards and that I got to surf, the Pete Mells and everybody. And you learn respect when you're in the lineup. So getting their time in the water now, you're learning respect. And when you have a paddle, you instantly have to respect that paddle because you can do things other people can't do just with the sake of the paddle.
Right.
So really getting that respect, really knowing the lineup, knowing when your turn comes. And
not being a wave hog.
And not being a wave hog. And really, because you can get
a lot of waves if you
want to. A lot of waves, man. And you can, you know. And
it's a great shot of the poster right there. Access Surf, Hawaii Adaptive Surf Championships. Talk a little bit about you know, what it takes for these athletes to train on a daily basis because, you know, they're coming over from other sports, other techniques. Surfing, as we all know, has a very unique feel to it and technique. So some of the training and ins and outs of daily stuff these guys do.
You got it. I'll start with Jeff Munson, who's one of our previously an able-bodied big wave surfer, surfed a lot down in Puerto Escondido. He does long-distance swims in the ocean.
Wow.
Before he even paddles out. Even if the waves are good, he'll take a swim, let's say, and just get his mindset, get used to the water, feel that tide, know the energy, know where to put himself. He has that experience. He has that knowledge because he grew up in the ocean. So just being able to slow yourself down. Take that 20 minutes on the beach when the waves are good to not paddle out.
Right.
When you're at home and you're living in Colorado or you're living in New Mexico, I think they're watching Kaipo and the guys on WSL a lot, and they're visualizing. And
well, John, I would imagine the ski to alpine skiing versus the surf ski, there's a pretty good crossover right there, I would believe, you know, just as far as maneuverability and being able to edge. As we look at some live action here, and got a little caught up there. So that's going to be up to the judges. We talked about the interference rule before, and looks like, you know, Alana found some open face there, but there was certainly a challenge with Victoria in front of her. Couldn't pull out of the wave. We'll see what the judges have to say about that one.
Yep, it's all about the scoring potential, and if we get a replay queued up, we'll kind of give our 2 cents of what we could pick out of that situation. Kaipo's been around surf competitions for a long time. I've been competing for a long time. John, you definitely have a lot of competition
Take a
experience.
look at it.
So right there, totally affecting scoring potential. Unfortunately for Victoria, there was just no exit, and she was already committed down the wave. That's when you got to have your peripherals engaged and see if there's anyone behind you. And as you said, it's always a learning experience out there. Every heat, every moment that goes by, it's a learning curve. And you just, those kinds of things, you'll come in, watch and learn, and know that next time, got to have your eyes a little bit more engaged.
Pull it back a little bit. The competitor comes out in
Right.
you. It's to seek together. I like that model than the Brazilian definition, you know, the battle. But that first, you know, minute of the heat, that's when the battle starts. That's when you want to get the priority. That's when you kind of do that, play that game. And
So
gotcha.
we're going to probably take another look at that, but it was impressive on that wave that Alana was still able to arc through a bottom turn and find some open face. Here's the beginning of the wave.
So you see 3 surfers paddling. Mira's out the back, and she almost got into it. And right there, you see Victoria looking ahead and not back. And right there was the crucial time of, once you're committed into the wave, if you can't get out of the way in time, the judges will be forced to apply the interference.
A great drone shot here from Mira. You can see that that right sort of shutting down. We'll see if she cuts back left. Sure she does. She knows this way very well, being a local here. But Alana, being that competitor, kind of sold it to her a little bit maybe. That left was sort of, and it's sort of primarily a right here, but you're going to see a lot more of that, as you brought up earlier, Rocky, that competition piece comes out in people, and there's going to be different levels of competition as these athletes get together.
You know, John, something that's pretty unique to Queens is a term called sweeping the peak. And that means a lot of times you'll see in competition a surfer go left first, sweep that person off the wave, then turn and come back right. It's an old trick. It's been decades of sweeping the peak out here. And Rocky, you can tell us about that and how it comes about, because we see that a lot of times in contests out here.
And it is so quite unique to this break
Right.
of the peak sweeping. You're right. It's just like,
Happens in free surfs.
yeah, man. I mean, uncles will be way out the back catching these waves before they're even feathering. And you're sitting there with your shortboard about 40 yards in, and they're just sweeping back and forth, eliminating any possibility of anybody else joining them. And you're like, come on, uncle.
Just wanted to go
peak
left.
sweeping at Queens, man, it is one of those old-time traditional tricks that you'll see even in competition, you know, even in adaptive surfing competition. We'd like to say a huge mahalo to explore.org. That's one of our portals for your viewing today. What they do is set up cameras around the world filming wildlife.
Whoa.
And, you know, you could, I've got a suggestion here.
What
Like,
animal are you?
You could check out the bears in Alaska.
What animal are you, Rocky?
I am a squirrel, the flying squirrel.
From Truckee, I go the Eagle Cam. I like the Eagle Cam myself.
Okay.
That's one of my favorites.
All right. Well,
But explore.org, one of our portals here, you can check out online and do the live webcast there and view our action as we see our next athlete getting into the water. Not sure if some of these athletes are going in for a warm-up or for their heat, but amazing the volunteers and the time they put in, the knowledgeable hands that they apply in the shore break here at Waikiki. Not always the easiest place to work with, So having that knowledge, having that commitment, and the strength of those volunteers to get these athletes through the shore break.
Again, taking vacations, taking time off work, they're doing it to build that energy, put that energy into this Access Surf program, because that's what's going to drive this into the future.
Right.
It's that second and third generation that sees other people being humble, being open to that giving, and they're going to come down and really push that in these next few years as the sport grows and as Access Surf grows.
We have opportunities here on Oahu at White Plains, I believe. It's
Day at the
every
beach.
First Saturday or
First Saturday of every month.
First Saturday of every month. Working closely with Wounded Warriors as well. So all of you out there that are on Oahu, if you have a first Saturday to go hang out with these great adaptive surfing athletes and volunteers, and there's a lot of first-timers that show up to go surfing, you know, with their different abilities and challenges that they need access to the water and need some assistance. It's so great to see those come out for the first time and the smiles on their faces after they ride their first wave.
And I encourage everyone that's listening today to contact Access Surf, to participate at a Day at the Beach. If you're here on vacation, call up. Ask them how you can participate. If it's not a event at White Plains at that Day at the Beach, that first Saturday of every month, it could be another event like Duke's, or it could be another opportunity, a canoe event, or other opportunities to get athletes into the water, to volunteer and to be part of that. Take 2 hours of your vacation, take 4 hours of your vacation, do something with your family that really you can take home and tell the story about.
Yeah. Amazing.
Access Surf, a small Hawaii nonprofit, and we're very grateful for the hundreds of volunteers and sponsors who make this event possible, as well as all of our beach outings. Thank you to Access Surf, and especially all of the volunteers, like you said, John, that take a little bit of time and give back and actually have some great interaction with some pretty cool human beings.
It's just breaking that barrier down rather than that conversation of, ooh, what happened to you? It's, whoa, great wave. And the, ooh, what happened to you conversation, it just kind of ends up like this. And, you know, they talk about their uncle that had that farm accident, and then you kind of leave that conversation without too much exchanging there, other than that kind of what happened to you.
Or
you know?
the inspiration you can take away from it. Very inspiring, all of these. We're going to take a look at a little heat recap right now as viewing from the rocks here. And we're going to open up with Marava'a Duarte.
And Mira, just again, the cutbacks.
Flying around there.
Here's Victoria on her wave that she had behind that peak, looking to get out, a little caught on that edge, work that cutback. Here's the interference here again. Victoria, a little more visibility, a little more timing, and she would have had that.
And we're going to be back at Waikiki. Stick around for more from the Duke's Ocean Fest. It is the Hawaii Adaptive Surfing Championships.
Most people have no idea what a credit union is.
We want to change that.
At Hawaii State Federal Credit Union, we're better than a bank.
We're member-owned,
which means better rates and lower fees for everyone.
Plus, over 400 ATMs statewide and 24/7 access on our mobile app.
We are Hawaii State Federal Credit Union.
And we are always right by you.
So when are you going to make the switch?
And thank you for joining us here a beautiful Monday. You can see Diamond Head in the background. This is the Hawaii Adaptive Surfing Championships presented by Access Surf, all part of the 2018 Dukes Ocean Fest. And we have, thank you for joining us on Surfline. Thank you for joining us on explore.org. And we're going to have a full day watching our enabled athletes compete here at a legendary break, which is Queen Surf. I'm Kaipo Guerrero along with Bo Hodge. I'd like to welcome Bo to the booth. A veteran surf announcer for decades, I'm going to say. Bo actually brought me in the game, to tell you the truth. Bo Hodge is here, along with John Davis, and we're having a good time. Both, welcome.
Thank you, Kaipo. And it's great to be back here. Access Surf's been around for about 12 years and actually been associated with the Dukes Ocean Fest for 11 years. And 11 years ago, it was a one-heat exhibition. And now 11 years later, it's a 3 full-day competition, international surfers from around the world, 80-some athletes coming here. One of the premier adaptive events in the world, and Dukes Ocean Fest has highlighted this event as one of their premier events of the Ocean Fest.
Well, Bo, you've been with this organization for quite a while. I know you've lent a lot of your time volunteering. I know you're very active in the auctions and making sure that you have auction items. How long have you been involved with Access Surf?
About 8 years. Mark Marble challenged me to come out just for one day at the beach. They have every year with the every first Saturday of the month at White Plains, and I was the type of person, you know, like you, Kaipo, you know, time is very valuable when you have a family and work schedules and multi-jobs living here in Hawaii. And all of a sudden I went to one day at the beach and I haven't missed one since. And it's so rewarding. And John, you know, you've been there and you've seen Life Rolls On with Jesse Villar and Chaka's Stoked for Life. I mean, the real core of the people are the volunteers.
They are. We were talking about that earlier. They give their time. They take their vacations. Again, time is money for everyone. We know that. And to donate your time, to volunteer your time, it's the next step into that giving, and it opens you up to opportunities you never thought imaginable.
Yeah. So, you know, this organization that Mark Marble and Rich Julian started 11 years ago has really blossomed into a huge nonprofit organization that has really put adaptive surfing on the map. In fact, I challenged the ISA to have a world championship, and 3 years ago they started it.
It's very cool. The World Championships has been a growth, a progression for board design, for athletes from around the country, just inspiring them to take that next step into competing or progressing their surfing.
Well, in fact, we have one of our world champions in the water right now, Pirata from Brazil. He won last year's kneeling and standing division in the competition. And I was talking to this other young surfer who's out in the water here, Kaipo, Josh Bogle, from Maui, from Haiku.
Wow.
Only been surfing for 4 months, and he's caught the bug. As anybody knows who goes surfing, they catch that bug, and it's a very addicting.
And John, what is this division? I see it's the kneeling division. So that's the primary stance that we're going to see with the surfers right now?
You got it. We either have double amputees, single amputees in this division a lot of times. Mark Mono Stewart, who's coming up in the next heat, is sort of the ambassador of this division. He's got a lot of great exposure living in Byron Bay. He's friends with a lot of the professionals from that area. Surfing Australia drives a lot of that conversation in Australia. As you guys know, they're very good at communicating their surfing and their surfing champions and those people that really drive the sport. And Mono's really had that.
He shapes and airbrushes Mark Richards surfboards.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's got those connections. So Mark is tied to those sports. These guys are so mobile in the water. They can zip around just as easy as any shortboarder can do. They can get in those tighter situations because their boards are a little smaller. They're kneeling, obviously, but it's a good power position for them to engage those rails, get up off the lip. And again, they're searching for the barrels more so than the wave skis or some of the other divisions. That is just that kind of that farthest maneuver that they could pull would be that barrel. These guys they live in the barrel if they could. You know, they really like those situations.
Well, even last year, we didn't have this division, the kneel division. We had this, we had these surfers in the stand division, but when we had more than 4 surfers, we created their own division because we want to feature them with their own discipline.
But we talk about this is the Hawaii Adaptive Surfing Championships, but it really is an international field. When I look down at our draw, we have Denmark, Chile, Hawaii, Italy, the mainland U.S., Australia, Denmark, Brazil, all represented here. Germany. Talk about the crew that's coming out here, because this is really an event that has brought a lot of the world together here in Waikiki.
Well, as surfers, as a community, you know, they want to go to the best destinations. And, you know, for someone from Switzerland, from Europe, from Brazil, from South America, they want to come to Hawaii. It's a bucket list thing for them. And Access Surf has provided a competition. And, in fact, Kara Short from Access Surf is in the beginning plans of possibly putting together a world tour in the future. Maybe 2019, most likely 2020 coming up. So there'll be adaptive events competing for a world title for series of points, just like the WSL, just like other types of leagues and things like that. So hopefully we will see that in the future here.
And John, speaking of 2020, we actually have Olympic ramifications as well, right?
We do 2020 Chiba, Japan. We have that that Olympic and Paralympic conversation started. Dwayne Cale, the new president of the IPC, the International Paralympic Committee, I got to speak with him last year in La Jolla quite a bit, had him on camera, really hit the poignant questions to him. Are we going to have wave pools? How is this progressing? Where the adaptive surfers fit into the Paralympic model, and you know, how does this going to work? And he was very forthright and very open. They're looking for those sports that are exciting. They're looking for sports that draw eyes. They're looking for people that are personalities. And every one of these athletes here, they're a personality in and to themselves, not just a competitive surfer, a competitive athlete, or an adaptive athlete, or a person with a disability. Their backstories are amazing as well. So to bring it to the forefront in a Paralympic type of a setting, the exposure gets bigger, the conversation gets bigger, and more eyes get to see it.
A lot of personalities, right, Bo?
Oh, my God. Let me tell you, I've been behind Fernando Aguirre, the personality of the governing body of the ISA, who brought the movement into Thomas Bach, the president of the IOC. And usually every Olympics, they allow 2 new sports. But they threw that out the window coming Tokyo, and they bringing in 5 new sports. Why? They want to capture the youth. Not only surfing, skateboarding, rock climbing, baseball, karate are all coming in. Baseball was a former sport in the Olympics, got dropped, coming back, but it has Japan ties with the baseball and the karate. And of course, Japan is the perfect nation to bring surfing. Japan introduced snowboarding in '94, so it's come full circle. And they saw how snowboarding has revolutionized the Olympics. And Fernando Aguirre and Thomas Bach think surfing will bring in that youth, and the skateboarding movement will bring in that youth. Now, these 5 sports coming into Tokyo have to all reapply in Paris in 2024 and Los Angeles 2028. So they're not guaranteed spots, and then thus with an official Olympic sport, surfing is only an exhibition sport coming into Tokyo. They'll have to reapply once they get the official status, and then the Paralympics comes in, John.
And that's what makes that conversation even more poignant for these NGOs and these nonprofits that drive that conversation and bring these athletes in. Trevor from Challenge Athletes Foundation that basically said, you guys need equipment, you guys need travel money to get to any event, we have it for you.
Well,
and
they're right there.
That's
There's
what it
Elena
takes.
Nichols. She is a 2-time gold medalist in women's wheelchair basketball and women's downhill skiing.
Wow.
She is one of the very few athletes in the world to ever double medal in the Summer and Winter Olympic Games. And she is a rock star in the adaptive community.
She is amazing. Being a 2-time Paralympian, 2-time gold medalist in the skiing as well. Strapping yourself into a sit ski and flying down an icy hill with a disability, it's one of the most hair-raising, exhilarating experience you could ever imagine.
I bet.
Putting yourself in harm's way, and to do it with precision, to do it with skill, to do it with the best equipment, and you can't put a price tag on what she's done competitively.
5 years ago, Kaipo, she had never been on a surf ski. She came and competed at this event, and she won.
She adapted that right away.
Because she is that talented of an athlete and respected into the world.
Well, I mean, the skiing aspect blows me away. And John, a former Olympic champ, in that is just, like you said, that is hair-raising. The course gets rutted throughout the day. Of course, the icier the course, the faster it is, but the scarier it is at the same time.
Well, John, correct me. Was it 2 years ago that she had a gnarly wipeout coming downhill?
Sochi, Russia, she took a very bad helicopter off the hill, messed up her face, came back in the giant slalom, almost medaled, kind of came back on that. But it's a, that's that competitive thing for these athletes. They already sort of have their disabilities, whatever it may be, and then you're sort of putting yourself out there to injury and, having those physical therapies, and, you're kind of always in that cycle of getting back to that peak performance. And when that games come, when the championships are there, the Paralympics are there, you want to be at your peak performance. And it's such a cycle of athletics.
What are the
training?
The Alpine divisions? Is it downhill and GS? Are those the two?
It's all four. You do, and you really can't specialize because the numbers aren't there, like in the able body. I skied all four events. Elena skied all four events: downhill, Super G, giant slalom, and slalom.
Wow.
And you have a whole quiver. You got your equipment. You're dialing your shocks in differently.
Wow.
There's a lot of extra components that go on when you're skiing a full suite of Alpine events. Surfing, as we talked about earlier, they're starting to get the short boards, the longer boards, the step-ups. They're starting to travel with more equipment, which allows them to perform on those waves, whichever they occur. And today here, we're waiting for that low tide, waiting for that peak of that swell to come up a little bit. They're probably on their step-up boards for that little extra paddle, that little extra performance.
Any insight into the swell bow that we have going over here?
I drove by Diamond Head, and I saw lines, but they were small lines. At least, I'm speaking ahead of myself. It's been consistent all morning, except for this heat. We haven't seen much of a ride during this heat in this Neal division, Heat 1, Round 1. It's been pretty steady small waves, and that's Queens. That can be Queens here, but then Hector, I saw Josh Moniz get head-high barrels coming out of here, Queens, a week and a half ago.
That's right, yeah. We've been blessed this summer with a lot of swell, but every once in a while, Queens takes a little breather, right? So the Queen will take a little nap, a little rest, and I think that's what's going on right now. Maybe some morning coffee for the Queen, and then she'll come back in with some ocean love.
Tea time, tea time. And this whole coastline here, as you guys know, looking down those aerial shots down at Threes and Pops and Ala Moana, and it's just an amazing set of waves and opportunity for everyone to come and get whatever type of wave they want. Here at Canoes, you can ride that board straight in, just like the Kings used to do, moving right to left and finding those reefs and step off on the sand and grab your Mai Tai. We have some rides up here. We have this is Pirata here from Brazil up and riding. Great cutback. We do have another surfer in white kind of behind him here, and I'm going to keep stressing here, and I'm glad Bo's in the booth with us here. We're going to keep stressing that priority rule because the athletes brought it up in the athletes meeting yesterday, and we really stressed it to them, closest to the curl. If you're the one that's behind the curl or in front of the curl, really letting that other surfer have that wave.
Well, here is a situation Bruno Hansen brought up in our athletes meeting yesterday, John. You'll remember that. What if I take off in the whitewater? And I went to Lapo and asked them what we saw in that situation. We saw Massa in the whitewater, and we saw Pirata in red on the open face. Pirata has priority because he's on the open face scoring potential of this wave. Massa's in the whitewater. Now, if he was to come around, white would be given an interference or triangle if he hindered the scoring potential of red. So that clarification was given to us and to the athletes. The judges don't want to see white there, Masa from Japan, come in and snake. He said he'll be snaking into the wave coming from the back of the whitewater where Pirata was in the open face scoring potential where the surfer should be.
All right, thanks for clarifying that, Bo, because that's an important point of contention here when you're talking about wave priority dictated by your position on the wave. Beautiful shot again of our Access Surf tent, and we have so many vendors here at the Dukes Ocean Fest.
There's Candy on the right. They're selling Access Surf t-shirts and hydro flasks and stickers and jewelry and hats and lycras, and all 100% of proceeds here in the merchandising booths go straight to Access Surf to help fund buying new boards, buying new equipment, fins, backup equipment, jerseys, and Access Surf is a nonprofit, and they rely on donations and fundraisers and things like that. And Kaipo, you've been very helpful in the past with us donating with your companies, and we appreciate that. And a couple of times a year. Recently, we just had a fundraiser, I think 3 months ago at Gordon Beer Show at Aloha Tower, and I had signed jerseys and posters from Triple Crown champion Griffin Colapinto that outsold John Florence's sign poster. Someone thought the value of Griffin could be even bigger than John, and I was blown away.
Well, Griffin Colapinto is the first Californian ever to win the Triple Crown of surfing. So he does have a historical asterisk next to his name.
Yes.
So I can see the value there, Bo.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we had some great valuable stuff, surfboards and artwork and things like that. And we had a very successful fundraiser over at Gordon Biersch. I know the Hard Rock Cafe in Waikiki is a big supporter of Access Surf. They offer an Access Surf burger where proceeds of that lunch will go to Access Surf. And they sell the designer pins over at the Hard Rock Cafe that proceeds also go into. So a lot of activities there. And you see our volunteers with the adaptive chair. And this has really revolutionized, John, entry and exit out of the water at all locations around the world.
The beach chairs have been, they've gotten better, they've gotten easier to use. The equipment, just to ingress and access, based on that mat, we really only have 10 feet of sand now, really. So that's a nice, easy pull. His wheelchair is waiting. That opening shot that we had, as you can see our open shot here, that's beautiful Queens, and looking down at the Duke statue here and all the amazing people that get to visit Duke statue each and every day and just have that little bit of communing with the Duke, that special individual, and that aloha creed that I know they bring back to wherever they go back in the world as well.
And thanks again to Salt and Air Studios for setting up a camp right here on the beach at Queens and heading this broadcast, Salt and Air Studios. You can watch us on saltandairstudio.com, explorer.org. And thank you to all of our friends over at Surfline who is also streaming this show live. And if you know what? If you enjoy the ocean and you enjoy surfing, make sure you get a premium subscription to Surfline, because that way you can get the long-range forecasts, because that's how I like to plan my week and my month. Live action here.
Here we go, Parata, our ISA current world champion, and Parata can actually stand up on his good leg and surf, but in his surfing style, he's more of a kneeler.
He's more of a kneel. He likes it, I think, better, and he has that better performance, and it's more comfortable for him.
Well, we heard the sound of the horn, so it looks like this first heat, round one kneel division is wrapping up. You can see Parata just swimming out of the competition zone. It was a last lucker heat for waves there, but pretty much dominated by our world champion.
Exactly, and I think as Kaipo mentioned earlier, Queens took a little breather there. She had a breath, a cup of tea, and a scone, and now she, hopefully the titles shift here, and we'll kind of get that push coming back in. But great heat for the guys. They did the best they could. This view from the water, being an athlete, as you all mentioned, some of these athletes for the first times, seeing Diamond Head is just magical from the water.
It's a magical place. It is a magical wave, and actually the great energy that we're feeling here today at the Hawaii Adaptive Surfing Championships. It's been a good day so far. We're just beginning. We're going to be back with more from Waikiki. Stick around. It's the Duke's Ocean Fest.
to the new International Marketplace, an extraordinary shopping experience in the heart of Waikiki. Visit Hawaii's first Saks Fifth Avenue and make unique discoveries as you stroll amidst lush landscapes and a thoughtfully curated collection of stores. Immerse yourself in Hawaiian storytelling and hula. And take dining to a whole new level on the Grand Lanai. Come, be a part of the new International Marketplace.
Welcome back to the Dukes Ocean Fest here at Waikiki Beach for the Hawaii Adaptive Surfing Championships provided by Access Surf. I'm Rocky Cannon alongside Bo Hodge and John Davis, and we're bringing you the action from heat number 2 of our kneeling division. Mark Mono Stewart in the red jersey from Australia, and we have Llewellyn Sponge Williams from Wales. Wow. And Victoria Phage, we're seeing her for the second time, our Canadian competitor out there in the black.
Yeah, Victoria's competing in both the kneel and the women's sit. In fact, we jockeyed her to have the same jersey, the black jersey, just to sit out in the channel. She had a caddy and a board change, and it's great to see these athletes adapt and surf in multiple divisions. If they can, they will.
And combining male and female, this is something new, I'm sure, for a lot of our viewers out there and a lot of people that watch surf events. It usually doesn't happen. Carissa Moore could most likely beat a lot of the guys on the tour as well on the right day and the right time. You know, there's that. The amount of participants on that women's category, we're just building that up, and Victoria is an ambassador.
Our criteria for this year for Access Surf, if we had 3 or more, they had their division. So we didn't have 3 or more women in the kneel division, so thus they combine into Bell. But next year, if we have 3 or more, we'll have a women's kneel division.
Well, and it's a co-ed division, as we said, and looking at some of our athletes under the tent there, the Access Surf area.
That's Rich Julian in the yellow hat, one of the founders of Access Surf, and there's Spike Kane from Manchester. He lives both in Seattle and down in the San Diego area. We can see Elena Nichols are right behind them, and that's the athletes tent. And John, that's Party Central, isn't it?
That is Morning Central. Kate there, Malia, Richie's beautiful wife and daughter there as well. Good morning to everyone down there. And the athletes tent, that's where a lot of those ideas are exchanged. You know, it's like those board meetings that end up at the happy hour.
Yeah.
You know, you get a lot done at the happy hour, and this is kind of happy hour for the athletes. They get to really enjoy that camaraderie.
But John, this is where athletes brainstorm and come up with ideas that are implemented, correct?
You got it. I saw some boards with that new cork design up on the deck of the boards. No waxing, no good traction. Some of the athletes are trying that out. The step-down rails for better traction, quad fin, tri-fin, you know, just all the fin setup, size of fins. It plays a big part when you're in the water, and your performance benefits when you have the right equipment and you're on the right equipment at the right time for those waves.
I mentioned it earlier. I've been really impressed over the years with the development of the equipment, the creativity, the functionality, and the performance. So all of those things taken into consideration, it's like you said, it's not as much of a think tank as a think tent down there, where they're brainstorming, sharing ideas, having all kinds of new equipment implemented into the adaptive surfing.
There we see Masick getting assistance out of the water from the last heat in white. But talking about that equipment, we've got a former world champion and our defending kneel champion right here, Mark Mono Stewart, who is in the design phase of MR Mark Richard surfboards over in Byron Bay, and he's the main airbrusher, and he is Mark's right hand, isn't he?
He's Mark's right hand, and that is that interaction there of these surfers having their heroes as well. I mean, these surfers are adaptive surfers, but their heroes are the Mark Richards, the Kelly Slaters, the Carissa Moores of the world that, bring that aloha, bring that choke and stare. They want to do the same maneuvers and have that same opportunity, and that structure is being built for them as they move forward, like you said, with the tent of knowledge.
Yeah.
Well, Rocky, you would appreciate Mark Mono Stewart board. You were ever to see this, he has a dugout hole for his knee, of his amputated knee, that he sticks in there. So the board actually goes down to where he has a scoop inside there. And sometimes he'll wear a fin on his other foot. You know, so he's very creative and he's very dynamic in his board designs, and he's changing it board to board, isn't he, John?
He's changing it board to board, and that's that quiver. Every wave dictates the board you're going to surf, whether it's a longboard wave or a shortboard wave. You have to have different designs. That extra flipper in a shortboard, on a shortboard beach break wave, gets him in early. You got to get in early, especially with you're an adaptive athlete. You don't have time to free fall out of that lip because you got other things to worry about.
Exactly.
So you get in early, so that flipper gives him that extra little bit. I'm sure on more of those beach break, more of those point break waves in Australia, it's a nice, easy takeoff, a defined takeoff zone. You're not moving around a lot, and I'm sure that he doesn't need that extra propulsion as much. But it's just great to see the athletes pushing board design, pushing performance, and continuing that evolution of the sport.
Mono rides his normal board like an Elia board. He'll do the spinners, forwards, reverse, and within that kneeling condition, he'll get more barrels than any of us combined.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we talked about it during the sit division too. We almost had a little surfer in the curl. I think, you know, as the day goes on, we may see a little bit more of that swell starting to approach a little bit tomorrow as well. With no secret, we've got that hurricane spinning down below and hopefully going to generate some nice swell for us over the next couple days.
I was talking to Mono when he came up on the beach. Let's watch this wave, and I'll tell you about that conversation. But take it away, Rocky.
All right, there's a nice little takeoff there for our surfer in white. That's Llewellyn Sponge Williams. And out of Wales, that's in Great Britain also.
I think so.
Wales is a surfing nation like Hawaii is in the international surfing world, where they have their own surf team and competing at the ISA Championships. So you'll see England and Scotland and Wales represented, as we have Hawaii and the United States represented.
Correct.
Come the Olympics, John Florence, if he wants to surf in the Olympics, he'll have to wear
surf
the red,
as
white,
a
and
USA.
blue. And the same with Llewellyn. If the adaptive Paralympics come around in Paris, he'll have to go with Great Britain.
And we've seen that on the WSL side with Kuhio Igarashi and some of the other folks. Repositioning. When you have one or two spots, and that's when you get to these competitions like the Paralympics or the Olympics, the pointy end of that competition is very limiting.
Correct.
It's excluding to most everybody except for those very few that can make the cut. And a lot of times you could be the best surfer, an injury will take you out, or missing an event will take you out, and you miss it by 1 point. You know, I mean, there's the best surfers, you have to play the qualification game and meet that criteria each and every day that you're in the water.
And give yourself the best chance to compete. And if you're one of those multi-citizenship holding type of athletes, that only improves your chances for competition. So, you know, for Kuhio Igarashi, good job. Go Japan, brah. Take it.
Here we go, John.
It's an opportunity.
Rocky, coming up in the next heat, Bruno Hansen from Denmark, originally South African with a South African accent, but he lives in a treehouse in Bali.
Wow. Okay.
And he's a world champion, best prone adaptive surfer in the world.
Awesome.
But there's a guy that he is a citizen of the world.
Yeah. Global citizen.
He may have a dual passport or a passport here, but I see him everywhere. And he goes everywhere. And he is, I mean, he hand pumps himself up in his wheelchair up to his treehouse in Bali.
Amazing.
And that's the lifestyle he's created. He's surrounded himself with some great equipment. He just picked up a chemo green board for this event. He wanted a longer board with the flatter conditions. So he's adapting in the Adaptive Surfing Championships.
You got it. And he did that at the ISA last year. He got a brand new firewire, brought it to the beach. He just read the conditions perfectly, and the new firewire was working great.
Yeah.
You have to adapt each and every day you come to the beach, and if you need a new surfboard, or if an athlete needs it, you get the new surfboard.
Well, going back to Mono Stewart, I saw Mono and he brought his whole family from Australia, from Byron Bay, where KP Perot's from, the legend and the commissioner of the WSL. And Mono goes, I was watching the surf this morning. I was timing the intervals. I was watching the waves. I mean, he is a student of the sport, and he was analyzing that, and we were talking about the consistency and the inconsistency. So he's already had his game plan from a couple hours ago.
It's so true, and I can kind of count on one hand a lot of times the amount of athletes that have that type of background in surfing that are here today. A lot of these athletes came in after their injury and started surfing. So the Mono Stewarts that have that surfing background, the Jeff Munsons that have that surfing background, myself that have that surfing background, it's a different ball game. And how you approach it from that respect level, from that history level, from that knowledge level of what you can do and how you can do it in the ocean and the equipment that you need to get it done. leaning on these guys and having these guys here for the other athletes is invaluable. They can talk story about all different types of crafts that they've tried, or things that they've tried that didn't work.
I can bet you that they're withholding some secrets of competition, but you're right. It is, especially at this break, with this type of somewhat lack of swell, timing is everything, knowing when those sets are going to come in. And here we go. We've got a paddle for some of our competitors, and it is black up and riding. That's Victoria Fage out of Canada. And you see that technique there, trying to get the board into the wave. And a lot of times here at Queens, you don't even need the wave to break to get a little ride, but it does fizzle out quite quickly.
So Rocky, we've seen the last two waves, not dynamic waves, but the longer boards are playing a factor where Mono's got the shorter board, and he's having a bit of a problem as the defending champion getting into the surf. Let's watch Llewellyn here, and he'll opt not for this wave, not a real breaking wave, but it seems like the guys taking the longer boards have the advantage.
For sure, and Queens can be a little mirage-ish with the rising swells. Here's Mono on the outside. See if he can get into this one, and he does. And he's up and riding. Look at him swing those arms around, really engaging the core, getting the board on its rail. And, if he can get the wave and enough time on the wave, he shows you what you can do. The judges will take note of the performance.
Well, you're definitely right there, Rocky. He had maneuvers where, as we're seeing, Victoria and Llewellyn not really having the maneuvers. They're catching the waves, but the judges they're treating these athletes like the Kelly Slaters and the John Johns and the Kanoas and the Ezekiels. And, hey, we're going to score you on your performance of your rides. And their criteria, speed, power, and flow, just like everybody else.
Correct.
Got that replay here with Mono. It's you can see that that extra little bit of kick as he gets in the wave. He's dynamic in his approach, using that front hand to weight the front of the board to keep that momentum going forward, down the line surfing, kicks out with control. Best wave of the heat.
I like the little counterweight action, swinging his, I think it was his left arm, really to get that bottom turn, whipping around. And like we said earlier, on the rail, you want to see the bottom of the board, and that's going to get a good score. Like you said, Bo, just because you can catch the wave earlier and ride it longer, we're more into the progressive surfing type of criteria for judging. They want to see those maneuvers.
Mono Stewart, 57 years old.
Oh, another astonishing fact.
Who else is 57, Bo?
Someone else in this booth, and I know it's not Rocky. So I guess it must be me.
It's not you, Rocky. We know that. You're a young man. You're a young man.
Oh, man. Feeling every bit of 38 with two baby girls, 3 and 1 years old. We're right in the thick of it right now. And, Bo, you've been there, and you've got a grown child now.
Graduating the University of Hawaii coming this December.
Awesome.
Rainbow, new rainbow.
Yeah.
Good job.
And you'll be there too one day, right?
Yeah. If everything, goes the way it's supposed to go, we'll be hopefully
World
sending
champ,
them
right,
somewhere to be productive. That's all I ask.
Hawaiian world champ, right?
Yeah, that could be.
Okay.
Women's world champ. Daddy will be happy with that.
Exactly.
Rocky, let's talk about the Deuce Ocean Fest. It's just not about the Hawaii Adaptive Surfing Championships. We've got the 1 mile swim coming up later this week. We got the lifeguard surf water polo coming up. We got the international tandem competition and the surfing dogs, which you're.
I'll be participating.
Yeah.
We've had pigs in the past, cats. We've got a duck this year.
Yeah.
So it's more of the animal surfing, and that'll be a good fun time on Thursday. But you're right, we got beach volleyball, we've got swim, paddle races, all the activities that Duke loved and was passionate about are all featured over this 9-day Ocean Fest.
And Duke, back around the turn of the century, and I'm talking not the 2000s, I'm talking the 1900s, he took adaptive people surfing. He was why we are here. And that was the mission statement from Mark and Rich, who started Access Surf. We want to take Duke's dream, and that what Fernando Aguirre was when Duke Kahanamoku won the 100-meter swim in Antwerp. The king was standing on the podium. The athlete was on the ground. And when the gold medal was awarded to Duke, the king goes to Duke and says, "That's the fastest I ever seen anybody swim in my life." And Duke goes, well, thank you, but that's not my best sport. And the king goes, what is your best sport, my man? He goes, surfing. And the king goes, what is surfing? Come to Hawaii and I'll take you surfing. And thus, the ambassador of aloha, the ambassador of surfing, Duke. And that's why we celebrate this time of the year, his birthday in late August, and perpetuate not just surfing, but all the things that Duke has done in his life.
Well, and his inclusive nature of anybody who wanted to get out there, with his help, with his knowledge, he put it into use. And we see a ride there from Mark Mono Stewart, and more waves out the back, and maybe an opportunity for White Llewellyn Sponge Williams. Now, how's that nickname, Sponge? Where'd that come from?
I think it was from he was sponging. I think it was bodyboarding.
Okay.
I think that's what he was doing with the bodyboarding. He's progressed onto the kneeling, and so I think the sponge just stuck because it's kind of a funny one.
Yeah.
But dovetailing on your guys' conversation with Dukes and kind of the early days down here at Waikiki, I had just a wonderful experience with John Paul JP, one of the new sort of beach boys down here.
Yeah.
And he was taking out a visually impaired surfer the other morning. And I just had about 5 minutes with him to kind of talk him down a little bit. He was excited, amped up, and he just, he wanted to give the best experience to this individual. And I just felt that presence of Duke there with us right there. Duke saying, it's going to be just fine. Get him in the water. Once you're in the water, he's going to know what to do. You're going to know what to do. It's all going to be fine. And that first wave and that smile and that aloha creed and that exchange of ideas of, in this case, surfing, just shines through. And so just that second generation, third generation takes these ideas to the next level. And
well, Rocky and I, and probably yourself, John, we can all say you heard that statement, 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Everybody has 7 degrees that knows somebody Kevin Bacon. Well, we're 2 degrees from Duke because we learned under Rabbit Kekai, the legendary beach boy, and we heard, I would go to Rabbit and I would be a sponge. Rabbit, tell me stories about Duke. Oh, I told you a million. I want 1,000,001. I want 1,000,002. And he would. And Rabbit would talk from the heart. He's going, Duke pride in keeping the aloha spirit and keeping the Hawaiian tradition alive, especially here in Waikiki, his home.
Well, JP Kaleopa'a is one of those guys that embodies what Duke was trying to instill into all the beach boys here, and JP is a glowing example of what Duke and how Duke is still living today through these guys.
You got it. He caught me today. I was jaywalking across the street to get over here for my 6:30 meeting. I hear this whoop whoop, and I'm well. I thought the 5-0 was on me, and I look over and JP gives me a shotgun. Hey,
keeping you on your toes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got to keep it, and that's just exactly. Keep you on your toes. Keep you looking for those right maneuvers to keep other people safe and not just make your life easier. It's like you're just trying to get out there and to share that aloha and share that knowledge. And surfing is one of those sports that everybody wants to do it, but the intimidation factor is pretty high when you think about a reef and a wave and whatnot. And here's the reef right here at Queens with that
beautiful
overview. The surf wall there at Baby Queens, as we see a ride here from Mono Stewart, leading the heat right now.
Yep, so this is the heat recap. We did have Mono Stewart up and riding there, and this is a great shot of Victoria Phage. We'll be right back with more surfing, the prone division coming up next here from Waikiki. We'll be right back.
I've owned Hondas ever since I've learned to drive. I've owned Civics, Accords, and this time I decided to buy a new Accord. I like the styling, I like the roominess. When I came to Pacific Honda, the sales staff made it very easy to buy the car here. They were very friendly, very knowledgeable, and the service department is so convenient to drop the car off here downtown and walk right to work. Leanne makes it so easy, and she explains everything to us. I trust her a lot, and I use her every time. I love Hondas, and I'll buy them from Pacific Honda again and again.
Welcome back to Waikiki Beach and the Hawaii Adaptive Surfing Championships presented by Access Surf, all part of the Dukes Ocean Fest 2018. It's a beautiful day in Hawaii, and myself and John Davis, we're into the prone division of the Hawaii Adaptive Surfing Championships.
You got it, Kaipo. This is our prone unassisted. These athletes surf without the help of any other catchers or pushers in the water, like we're going to see in our assisted division. Catchers and pushers are people that push you into the wave, or they catch you when you're done with the wave to make sure you get back on the board and everything. Here we see one of our athletes here, Bruno Hansen, it looks like here in the red. Let me confirm that. Yes, Bruno Hansen in the red. Another great ride from Bruno. We heard from Bo earlier. Bruno needed a different board. He knew the waves were going to be changing. He knew the swell conditions were changing. He upped his board and he stepped up a few inches, and it's paying off with that first ride.
Yeah, got straight to it. Bruno Hansen, all the way from Denmark.
All the way from Denmark. He is a riot on the beach. He brings a great crew with him, and I think he lives in Bali in a tree house right now. He kind of does that Bali thing with so many great waves there and such great weather. It's just nice to be over there for him, I'm sure, and having those opportunities to surf as many waves as he can and different variety of surf. See some of our beach chairs here looking down towards Diamond Head here, and what are some of those bases? Is it Tongs and everything right around the corner there?
We dot. The one thing about the South Shore of Oahu, we are just dotted with little reef breaks. So as we move from Queens, we have the Waikiki Wall, then we have Publix, and then past there we would have like Kaimana Beach, Old Man's, the Natatorium on your shot there. Tongs is past that wave. Winches, graveyards, suicides, Sleepy Hollows, all the way till you get to Lighthouse and Diamond Head Cliffs. We probably have 40 different little reef breaks in a span of about 5 miles here on the South Shore. Wonderful place.
What very cool. I know growing up in Santa Cruz a few years back, we designated that 7-mile straight stretch from Natural Bridges to the Hook and Capitola there as a surfing preserve.
Nice.
So, nothing else can be developed there, and it's geared towards protecting that surf because it's such a natural treasure for you here in Waikiki and the islands, and for all these surfing communities around the country. That's their crown jewel, is that surf and keeping it protected.
Yeah, and keeping it protective, you know, not just from development, but we got to take care of the ocean. And one way we can do that is very simple things. Reduce your plastic consumption, try to eliminate those single-use plastic containers, use a reusable water bottle. Of course, we're trying to eliminate straws from our landfill right now in our beaches. That's another thing we're looking at. You don't need a plastic lid when it's not necessary. So many little things we can do as we take a look through all of our competitors area here at Access Surf.
I'll jump into my reusable water bottle here,
Perfect.
which is another great way to do it. And I love to see everybody with their coffee cups and their reusable everythings. And it just, it tells a story from all those great trips that you went on, your dents and dings from dropping it at the baggage claim or whatnot. And
I was going to say, all those each dent probably has a fun little story attached to it.
Oops.
Any of those used in self-defense?
None, none of these. So not yet anyway, but it's there if I need it. But
I'm not going to get nuts with you, bro. I'd like to say mahalo once again to explore.org. It's the live cam network. The Pearls of the Planet is one of their taglines there. And the mission of explore.org, by observing nature, we fall in love with it and therefore want to protect it. Makes a lot of sense. And explore.org loves Hawaii, and honored to work with all of the islands and our Access Surf folks here on Oahu.
And we love our volunteers right now, illustrating the piggyback technique of exiting the water. Wonderful volunteers here at Access Surf.
And then the ability of that other surfer right there with a fin, with a board, one leg hopping up the beach. I mean, we talked about it earlier, the inspiration factor that these athletes put out there for everybody who watch them, and just, I sit there impressed and in awe for each and every one of these athletes.
Just by the situation, inspiration comes naturally, which is a great thing. No one of these athletes wakes up in the morning and says, how many people can I inspire today?
Right.
It doesn't happen that way. They wake up, put on their pants or whatever they do, the same way we all do. And at the end of the day, that inspiration that comes through just by them living their lives, it's a gift. It's a true gift that just you can't put a price tag on. And engaging them on their terms, with just a great conversation of, hey, how's your day going? And just really get to that just different conversation other than what happened to you, and try to pull out that inspiration. As people try to do sometimes, it's tough on the athletes. It's hard because they're in a spotlight all the time, no matter where they go.
Right.
In a wheelchair, the spotlight's on you.
Right.
If I'm walking down the street, people are going to get into the moving traffic before they think they're going to get in my way.
Right.
And that's hard for me because I just want to say hi and just have a nice interaction and walk by.
Yeah.
I don't want to have this kind of weird interaction with someone just because of the wheelchair. So it's nice that the surfing and all these adaptive sports breaks down those barriers, starts different conversation, allows people to be inspirations just by being themselves.
Yeah, and I mean, you hit the nail on the head right there, John, as you do feel like, I would imagine, that you're always in the spotlight. And right now in the spotlight we have red, and that's Bruce Hansen in our prone division. But, to break down those barriers, to, educate people on how you feel and how you want to be treated. It is a huge factor, and these kinds of events really help to bridge the gap.
And that's why we're here at Dukes Ocean Fest. That's one of the main reasons. That's one of the main reasons that I'm lucky enough to be with you two in the booth, because our conversations are going to drive so many more conversations for all of us, and those ideas are going to spark, and that creativity is going to spark. So the more knowledge that people have that are in the public eye, that have that foundation and that platform to be able to speak and talk and have an audience to listen to, that's the gift as well, too, to convey what these athletes are really trying to say here. We want to be athletes. We want to be competitive. We want to be just treated as human beings, and that normal, everyday kind of interactions, politeness, and courtesies that we all go through each and every day, and not so much focus on that, disability in this sense.
We had a little shot of Bill Martin on, catching a wave. He's from Hawaii. He's out there in the yellow jersey.
Yeah, Bill, a very avid competitor. See him competing in the Hawaii.
In the white jersey, we have Jacob Pacheco there, Rocky. And then also in the black jersey, Bettina Gonzalez, all the way from Chile.
Well, truly international affair with Bruno Hansen, listed from Denmark, but has, as Bo was saying, lives in a treehouse in Bali, but is a South African native. Wow. And then Jacob Pacheco from the USA, Bill Martin from here in Hawaii, and our Chilean competitor out there in the black, Bettina Gonzalez.
Bettina is one of those, I think, success stories. The next generation, I got to sit next to her at one of the athlete meetings and had a chat with her. The Chilean team has brought a trainer with them. They brought a coach with them, a translator as well.
Okay.
A lot of times those language barriers, if just that athlete comes over by themselves, they're on their own, getting a hotels, having a place to store the board, doing all that.
Changing money, all of that stuff.
All of that stuff, it just gets confusing as we see Bruno take another dig here. That longer board's giving him opportunities. He's still a little bit out the back. He needs to dig a little bit. But Bettina in Chile is a new delegation that's coming on board. And that's been coming on board just because of that fact that the conversation has been started and more people are understanding. As we saw Black up and riding there, Bettina right there as we speak, getting a great wave. I think that was her first wave of this heat, which she's scratching out the back. And you can see this prone division. You're just on your stomach, doing the surfboard
and so
prone maneuver.
These athletes obviously have arm strength and shoulder strength, and I mean, it's pretty rigorous, not having the use of your other limbs and being able to propel yourself forward fast enough to catch a wave. That's some really impressive strength.
And I had a lot of notes written about that. That strength factor is just so key. I know for you when you surf, and our viewers at home, when you're getting into that wave early, you want that extra little bit of time. So these athletes, if they are dropping late, they're already a little behind that curve, a little behind that 8-ball, that face is going to run away from them, the curl's going to run away from them, they got to get down the line. Yeah. They're not thinking about maneuvers so much, they're thinking about survival. And I want them to think about maneuvers.
Yeah.
And having that best performance they can, and not just surviving the heat. And that comes with strength.
Yeah, and a lot of experience, in the valuable experience they're getting here at one of the world's best known beaches and surf breaks. Has to be a lot of fun for somebody traveling from as far away as Chile. Here we go, up and riding. That is in the red, Bruno Hansen, and out in front in the white, that's Jacob Pacheco. Looked like there was a little spacing right there, not too much of scoring potential affected. The jet ski might have just got an interference, though.
Well, Bruno has a pretty big lead as we look at the scoring widget up in the corner of your screen. So he has been the busiest. He's caught the most waves, and he has amassed the highest point total so far. And you can see our clock counting down. We start with 20-minute heats. We're down to 8 minutes and 20 seconds.
Am I seeing a 7.83 for that last rider, Bruno Hansen?
I think that was the previous one. They're probably punching in that last one, but that's a pretty hefty score, 7.83, and maybe we can get to a replay of that. But he had a couple of nice turns on that waves, and of course, just like any surf competition, it is the same exact thing. We're judging on criteria. It's a 1 to 10 point scale. We have 5 judges up there. We throw out the high and the low, and that's how we get each and every one of these wave scores.
There's white, that's Jacob Pacheco. Nice looking little wave right there with some open face to work with.
I got to delve in just a hair a little bit on the judging. It was the priority and the judging that came up in the athletes meeting so much. And as we evolve, we're using WSL judges here. Yeah. We have the most critical, the most precise, the most focused judges of any
very experienced.
They're very experienced. They're looking at oranges, not apples anymore. You know what I mean? In that sense, they're looking at a whole different animal here. Their learning curve is coming up to speed. I've been fortunate to help with some of the judging at least last year at the Stoke for Life event, the U.S. Open of Adaptive Surfing in Oceanside.
Yep.
Had a great event. Helped to educate the judges on some of the ability levels, the maneuvers that the athletes are trying to perform that are their sort of outer limit maneuvers, and how to score that, how to see that. Barney Miller and Jesse Billauer had this amazing heat, as we see some of our athletes here, Miravaha, and some of our other athletes here having some fun at the beach. Getting back to that, Jesse Billauer and Barney Miller had a heat where 2 quadriplegics battled it out, 1/10 of a point difference at the end of the day. Jesse Billauer shot the pier and thought he was going to get a 10 for shooting the pier. But Barney was doing these long rides, cutting back, hitting the white water and everything, using his ability to the fullest, ended up taking that heat out. And it was just so neat to see the judging really kind of progress and have that ability to pull out those nuances of these maneuvers and pull out those nuances of these abilities.
Well, yeah, it's very acute observation these judges have, and it does come down to those really minute details of the maneuvers that differentiate the different scores. And Jesse is a good friend of mine, known him since before his accident, and was hoping to get to see him here this year, but I don't see his name there. But I hope he's well, and want to give a shout out to Life Rolls On, as you did earlier, John. And you know, I remember getting the phone call of that, you know, years ago, and man, just stoked to see Jesse in the water, fighting, back in the water, surfing, ripping, and, you know, try to get some water time with him anytime he's here.
So cool. And I have one of my good friends. I grew up in Santa Cruz surfing. He's renting a place over here at Black Point this week. And I texted him when we had dinner the other day. And that camaraderie of our surfing friendship that we had standing up before my injury, it went away after my accident. And it changed our friendship. And it's not just hard for that athlete or that person that was going, it's hard for their friends and their family to understand what's going on and how to communicate. again, we come back to Dukes as a way to communicate to your friends and your family. He's going to come down here this week, and he's going to see what I'm doing here,
Yeah.
and we're going to have this surfing in a different way connection.
Right.
And it's just been super neat. We actually surfed Pleasure Point a few years ago and caught a wave together, and it was just one of those moments of full circle. 25 years later, we caught a wave together again finally.
Awesome.
And it's just that, and I know you and Jesse probably surfed together, and just that amazing energy that's in the water when you're with that friend. You're doing what you love to do together again.
Yeah. Beautiful shots from above, looking down. It looks like a swimming pool. The water is so crystal clear this morning. Great to see that at Waikiki, as we all know how many people come and use this beach on a daily basis. Like to give a shout out to All Good Sunscreen, the reef-friendly sunscreen that we like to use here in Hawaii. And here we go, up and riding in the yellow. That's Bill Martin. And Bill just getting one little cut back in there before the wave fades out. And that's one of the signature kind of dynamics of Queens when it's this small, is you gotta kind of surf with a sense of urgency. Once you get the wave, it's all about performing before that, you know, end section where it's gonna die out. So he was able to squeeze one in there, and he'll look for more.
It's a great shot. You can really see that sort of knife edge reef right there. You see exactly where the wave breaks. You see exactly where that peak pops up. When you're sitting there in the lineup, you can look down between your feet or look off to the side of your wave ski, whatever. You can see the reef. You know exactly where to position, and it's one of those magical waves.
And Jesse's tuning in, just sending me a text right now. Jesse, love you, brother. Can't wait till you come back here. Hopefully we'll see you this winter. But he was entered, and just got a bit of a cut and a sore on his hip that's preventing him from performing at his 100% performance level. So he had to pull out a few days ago, but sends his love and aloha to you, John, to you, Kaipo, and to all of the athletes and volunteers that are here.
Speaking of performing, Bruno Hansen's been performing in this heat. He has a large lead in this heat number 1 of the prone division. And it is all-day Hawaii Adaptive Surfing Championships here. We have so many people to thank as well. The Annenberg Foundation, Neutrogena, the Hawaii State Federal Credit Union, Tom and Kitty Powers, the Pace Supply, Aroma Cafe, Territorial Savings, North Shore Prosthetics, Aerotech, International Marketplace, Colbrooks, the Hawaii Stevedores, Charming Sharp Jewelry, Moby Mats, Hawaii Accounting, and Pacific Honda, just to name a few.
Yep, and of course, we've been mentioning Salt and Air Studios, where this broadcast is being sponsored from. You can check it out, saltandairstudios.com. And lots of love coming in for explore.org. They are really honored to be a part of this. They really do enjoy putting events on their website that display the selfless acts of volunteerism, the courage and the inspiration of the athletes here, all noted by the explore.org group. And check them out at explore.org. They're helping us fall in love with nature through live cameras, and we want to conserve and protect that.
All right, we have our heat recap here as we see Bruno Hansen on his couple waves. Bruno definitely took that heat out. And we'll be right back with the Hawaiian Adaptive Surf Championships here at Duke's Ocean Fest. Stay tuned.
not the same.
Visit any Territorial Savings Bank branch and open a savings account today.
Welcome back to Waikiki, and it's the Dukes Ocean Fest. We're in the Hawaii Adaptive Surfing Championships here at beautiful Queens Break, and Access Surf has set up camp. Kaipaguro along with Rocky Cannon, John Davis. It's been a wonderful morning so far, guys, and we've been seeing some great surfing in both our standing division, our sitting division, our kneeling division. Now we are in our second heat of our prone division. And again, Kaipaguro, Rocky Cannon, John Davis all here right on the beach bringing you the action. Thank you for joining us on surfline.com, sondairstudios.com, as well as explorer.org, all streaming this great day.
Yep, and now we are into our next heat. It'll be Ann Yoshida, who will be in the white. This is our second heat of prone. Massimiliano Mattei from Italia, and Scott Patterson out of Canada. So I love these international affairs with surfers traveling from as far away as Chile, Italy, Great Britain, Wales, you know, kind of nearby like Canada. I see some Germany surfers over there, some German surfers, and Australians as well. The Brazilian contingency, always strong. Great to see everybody coming out and converging here on Oahu.
It is the mecca to converge here in Oahu and Waikiki especially. We see, I'm looking out the back of our tent here, and I see every different race and nationality walking by, all smiling, having a great time. Of course, I want to point out Ann Yoshida. She's our Lifetime Achievement Award winner this year. 17 years of her journey to get back into the ocean. She's been with Dukes the whole 12 years and is a major part of some of the behind the scenes as well of structural and organizational opportunities here at Dukes, and just one of my dear friends and someone I text quite a bit from the mainland and say, hey, how's it? What's going on? Tell me a story. Tell me a good story from where you're at. And she always has a great smile for me and a good story. And she lived in Carson City for a little while, down near Reno, when she was doing her schooling.
Capital of Nevada.
Yeah, you got it. And I live in Truckee. I was about 45 minutes away, but I never made it down to see her.
I bet you're in trouble for that.
It's too far, you know. It's too far, but I've always invited her up, and we had some fun swimming in the mountain lakes together, and I showed her kind of that other, the mountain lifestyle in that sense. So it's fun to get to know Ann and just to be her friend, and just to see her be honored here. And her speech last night during the athlete celebration was just amazing. She just had some amazing words and just really brought it all together for everyone.
Well, and we have our competitor from Italy, Massimiliano, and our Canadian Scott Patterson.
And Scotty is an ex-skier as well, those Canadians. He's been around for quite some time. I was on the U.S. Paralympic ski team. Scott was on the Canadian Paralympic ski team. So I've known Scott for quite a long time. He's been a chameleon as well. In adaptive sports, you can try different sports, different funding, different sorts of avenues for these athletes to get involved. Challenge Athletes Foundation, Life Rose Honors we talked about with Jesse. Access Surf, just these opportunities to have the ability to change sports mid-stride, and skiing's hard on the body. I liken it to riding a jackhammer down the hill, as we talked about earlier. It's hard on the body.
And I bet it is. And you're talking about, in the alpine aspect, having to adjust your shocks, but those shocks don't do all the work. There's still a lot of banging around when you're flying down a hill, isn't there?
You got it. And they inject the snow just like they do in the Olympics as well for the Paralympics. So it's like frozen hard. It's like skiing on turtles' backs is the best way that I can describe it. So
I've never tried that.
Don't try it. Powder is your friend.
Sounds, like it could be a hard fall. Oh, beautiful shots from our drone. Just the iconic shoreline of Waikiki all the way down to Kapahulu, coming back this way towards Queens. And, I mean, talk about just the most welcoming beach in the world for everybody. Over the last couple of days, I've seen people trying surfing for the first time, stand-up paddleboarding, just getting out on a floaty, looking so comfortable. And Waikiki lends itself to all these multiple activities as we come back to our contest site. But with this little storm that's spinning south of us, could change the seascape and the beach shoreline a little bit coming up in a couple of days. Should be exciting.
What do you see coming, Rock?
Hurricane Lane is down there pumping out some energy, and we'll see. I think the first, listening to the radio this morning on my commute in from the North Shore, left at 5 o'clock. Traffic wasn't that bad. I had my mannequin in my passenger seat so I could use the zipper
Don't
lane.
let out the secret.
Nah.
The police are watching as well.
You have a Prius, don't you? Come on, you get to use that lane already,
that's what I
right?
drive. And no, I was rolling solo, so I had to use the regular lanes all the way. But got here early, but on the radio they said could see some of the first effects of that storm maybe as early as tomorrow afternoon, evening.
You know what, Rocky? You're right, because I'm looking at my Surfline forecast right now, and that energy is going to bring us maybe 5 to 8 footers by Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
So it's going to be exciting this year at the Dukes Ocean Fest. We're going to see some real deal waves a little bit later on this week. And we'll see how this break transforms as well.
Yeah, a little bit of a bump, hopefully tomorrow into Wednesday. And I know Wednesday is all of the days for our finals, so hopefully the waves will kick up a notch for our adaptive athletes, and they'll be able to showcase their skills on a little bit bigger waves. But for right now, you know, whatever they can catch, hey, they're performing very well for the conditions.
Definitely are. And anytime you get more open face, you get that energy, the maneuvers go up, the abilities go up. Guys like Mark Mona-Stewart, guys like Jeff Munson, you're going to see them perform at their ability levels, which is our viewers at home are going to be in for a treat if we get those waves, and it culminates with these top athletes making it through the rounds, because it's no guarantee the top athletes are making it through the rounds. Everybody's in a competition here. There's anything can happen, as we see Scotty Patterson here give a nice dig here and a good try for that one. He'll get back around. Scotty's a double amputee.
Okay.
So he just has that prone position. He chooses not to do the kneeling. He doesn't really have that ability to be in that upright position.
Okay.
So he chooses to surf in the prone division.
And here we go. Nice looking set here. Red and white battling. And it is Ann Yoshida that ends up with the wave.
And again,
nice little cut back on that left.
You got it. Again, and just her energy. She brings her energy. I remember at one year we had that the paddle from Hawaii Kai around Diamond Head and all the way here into the beach. I think it's how many miles is that? 5 or 6 miles, or
yeah,
it's a solid paddle.
Miles, yeah.
And Ann was an athlete that wanted to try it, so she got about halfway, or a little less than halfway through, and her neck cramped up on her because she didn't have any support to put her head on the board. She was kind of just down on the board. A water bottle, of all things, floated by, and she used that to prop her neck up as some padding, and ended up making it into the beach.
Wow.
It was about 2 hours after the last competitor came through, and we're all on the beach, and we're getting the reports from the jet ski that Ann's rounding Diamond Head, and she's on her way, and she got up on the beach and laid down and slept for a good solid hour. And as we see here, Ann more energetic today. Great paddle into this one. She chose to go left. I like this strategy today because it's a quick paddle back out.
Yeah.
Get a couple quick scores, build a house, and then you can go back out and wait for the bomb.
That's the way to do it. I mean, it's competition any way you look at it. We talked about the judging. We talked about the criteria. Of course, speed, power, flow is going to fall into it. Multiple maneuvers, if you can get a few maneuvers in a wave. And we talked about our judging panel. We actually have a legendary judge up in the judges tower. Jack Shipley's here. And Jack is actually one of the guys who invented the 1 to 10 scale of judging. So it's our honor to have Jack here. He's up in the tower. He's a watchful eye for every single day of the Hawaii Adaptive Surfing Championships. And we couldn't ask for a better man to be assigning numbers to these rides. Absolutely legendary.
Well, there's a great shot again from our drone with a little wave approaching. We'll see if anybody can be in the right spot, and looks like they're just on the edge. And one of those little mirages that we were talking about here at Queens. It's really a spot that requires that perfect positioning, and the knowledge of where to be definitely is in the advantage of our local competitors. But everybody missing out on that one, but there'll be more as this heat progresses.
We saw Ann take a nice dig there, and last year at the ISA World Championships, Ann was the linchpin that won that for the Hawaiian team.
Oh, wow.
She was virtually out of energy again, and a wave came to her less than a minute to go, and she turned, and I just saw it on her face. She was not going to let this wave go, and that extra little dig that she had got her on that wave. She rode it in, got the score. Magic moment for Team Hawaii on the beach in La Jolla last year
that's awesome.
to take that out and just to have that experience and to have Ann be that person that has done the training, has put in her time, has had the experience, has that water time here at Queens and knows it well, and just a great opportunity to showcase her skills here.
You know, Ann must have some very, very special energy around her. You talked about having that paddle and just the intervention of a water bottle floating up to her when she needs it, winning the event for the Hawaii team, a wave coming to her when she needed it. A lot of times in the world and in the universe, these things are not coincidences. People do carry energy to them, and I'm sure from what I hear about Ann is that she possesses that special type of energy.
Yeah, a little bit of that X factor, especially when it comes to surfing competition. We all, in all of our different generations of surfing competition, you always had those one or two guys in your heats that like, the wave just comes right to them, right at the right time, always. And for me, growing up, it was the Irons brothers. It happened like that, like clockwork. Every contest we were in, you know, you could be beating them, you know, hand over foot, but in the last 2 minutes, two waves come and then they win. It's like that special, really unique energy and relationship with the surrounding environment that sounds like Ann possesses too.
She definitely possesses that, and I totally know that year at Pipeline that Andy got those last two waves in the last 2 minutes and won the title and everything. I mean, just magic moments of those people with the X factor. You totally mentioned it, and you build your energy in the way you do it. I know I spent some time with Poncho Sullivan at the Trestles event, and Poncho, that was the year that he made it all the way to the finals. I think he beat Durbridge. Him and Bede were in the finals, I want to say, that year. He stayed with the Rip Curl team, with Claw and the Rip Curl team, in the accessible area that they'd built. They just set up shop in the back, totally fine.
Nice.
In between all of his heats, he picked up trash all along the beach.
Wow.
And so, Poncho, if you're watching right now, aloha to you. And, you know, another X factor, another guy that just builds that energy, just builds that good vibrations.
Yeah, Poncho Sullivan, an absolute legend. And actually, you know, one of the older surfers to qualify for the championship tour. So he has a really interesting story behind him and kind of his late surge onto that championship tour, onto that global stage. But he's always been a master of sunset and still is. So.
Yeah, saw him having dinner the other night. Wife and I have our her parents visiting. So we squeezed in a date night on Friday, and of course bumped into Poncho and Haunani at the same restaurant.
Nice.
Said, "How's it?" and exchanged.
Did you pick up the check? Were you the big guy, or did you let the in-laws do that, Rocky?
No. They were watching the babies.
Oh.
And so me and Mama got out.
Wow.
For a date night. It's been
Mai
a
Tai
while.
night.
Yeah.
So 1 and 3 year old, right? So yeah, not a lot of time.
Thank you, Mom and Pa, for taking care of Ulu and Nene. We've got Breadfruit and State Bird as their nicknames.
Good stuff.
Very cool. So we got, it looks like 3 minutes to go in this heat. Spike and Yoshida, Scotty Patterson, Sean Ryan, and Yoshida out in the lineup. And Yoshida looks like she's got her one wave. She still needs that backup wave.
Yep.
And all the competitors still need their backup wave.
Yeah, I was going to say, we haven't seen a ride from Massimiliano as of yet, but...
and I think our Italian team had some trouble getting here. And they are absent from this heat. So we just have the top three there: Sean Ryan, Ann Yoshida, and Scotty Patterson in this heat. And of course,
we enjoy saying Massimiliano anyway. If he can't make it here, it's
very
a fun
cool
name.
Italian name.
Yeah, it's actually, that name makes me hungry for some strange reason.
Some
lasagna. Yeah.
Well, just a couple of minutes left in this heat as we take a look over at Canoes, the popular surf break here alongside Waikiki Queens. I'm sure we'll see some of those outrigger canoes swooping through the lineup throughout the day. Very unique setup here at Waikiki, where you have catamarans, canoes, every type of vessel traversing through the lineup. And, you know, watching from the beach announcing tower the last couple of days, so much respect goes out to our lifeguards here. So much respect goes out to our beach boys and captains that are out there maneuvering among hundreds of heads in the water. And it's amazing to me how there's not a condition 5 every day here in Waikiki, which is lifeguard terms for a bad accident. But it's a tribute to the lifeguards doing a great job, all the captains, you know, with the great knowledge of the waves and the breaks, and everybody's just scattered heads everywhere. It's amazing what they can do and keep everybody safe.
And top priority in the athletes meeting, water safety did get up, presented all of the cues that they need to be aware of from the athletes, of patting your head and saying you're okay, to throwing your arm up and saying, you know, I need some help right away. Jet ski is out there in the lineup.
Speaking of, Aloha Surf Life Saving doing a great job once again here at the Dukes Ocean Fest. I know one of our North Shore jet ski operators has been here for the couple of days, and I think we'll be here throughout the week. Jeff Okuyama, we've got Ryan Reisner from the east side heading up the water safety team.
Uncle Brian, is that it?
I have not seen Uncle Brian here.
Okay.
But, you know, when we talk about jet ski rescue and the founding fathers of that technique, Brian Keolana, Terry Ohui, Mel Pu'u, Dennis Govea, that's, you know, the forefathers of that jet ski rescue technique that is so prevalent around the world. And we're using it a lot here this week with the kids yesterday, the Menehune, Matson Menehune Madness Surf Fest, and of course the adaptive surfing. Always appreciative to have some jet ski assistance whenever possible, even though these athletes are very self-sufficient in the water, as you can see, but always nice to grab a ride.
I definitely think that this is the first event where assisted athletes are going to have a jet ski assist back to the lineup.
Oh, great.
All the other events, it's a pusher and a catcher, as I mentioned, for the athletes that can't paddle on their own.
Right.
They need full assistance.
Yeah.
And that whoever catches them paddles them back out, drops them off, and comes back in, or vice versa.
Wow.
They switch. So it's this dance that they have to do. And I know Jesse Billar, I wish he was here to kind of talk about that dance. The relationship with your partner is so important. And having that, Jesse and his partner have been spot on for years with getting him in the best waves and the right positioning, and then the catchers getting him back out to catch that second wave and to
That's
progress
great. Yeah,
forward.
it's like a choreographed relationship that, as we watch the heat recap, that is Black Scott Patterson dropping in, looking at the left right there, and trying for all it's worth. Gets a pretty decent ride. And a nice drop here for Ann Yoshida, snagging that left right there. Sean Ryan kind of faded off the top of that wave. Shakas all around, smiles all around. Great day all together here for day number 3 of the Dukes Ocean Fest.
Kaipo, I have to ask you, you talked about the Queen's Mirage. Ann Yoshida, the local girl winning the heat. Did she direct people off the peak into Mirage Land in order to kind of
She may have done that. I think she definitely knew where to sit on the reef to get that wave and take a heat win for sure. So good ocean knowledge. And, you know, let's learn more about Ann Yoshida, because we had a chance to catch up with her early in the day.
It looked like she paddled him over into Mirage's Land.
When I was young, I used to spend hours and hours on the old school video games on the Apple IIc, playing the Olympic Games. Who would have thought that I would be training for the Paralympics in 2016? One day after photographing a couple for their wedding, I was picked up to go back home, and a car ran a light and crashed into my side of the car. I know I had an aortic rupture that left me paralyzed. I also had a frontal lobe brain injury. Really fast, but really hard. I couldn't speak. I had to use sign language to communicate with people. A funny thing that I used to do in the hospital was have, when people came in and out of my room, I had to have a hug from them. They had to give me a hug, or I had to give a hug. I guess it was my Hawaiian culture coming out where we have aloha, we give aloha, and we want aloha back. In a situation like this where I felt everything was lost, I had to look within me and find something bigger than just me because I felt I was broken. I found spirituality as my motivator and something that was bigger than me. Inside, I didn't change. I still had my mind, I still had my emotions. I was still an athlete. I went and I played basketball and I played tennis. To hike, I wanted to find a way to hike, so I went off-road hand cycling. So all the things that I wanted to do before my crash, I still was able to do, it's just differently. From the people that knew me in the water, I was asked to be part of Team Hawaii in the IVF World Sprints in 2012 in Calgary, Canada. Man, when dreams come true, they really do take flight. Getting back into that water was my dream, and opportunities have just blown up since then. Now I'm here on the road to Rio as the first Hawaiian representing the United States as a para-canoe kayaker. The funny thing is that I could be knocked out of the running as an Paralympic hopeful at any time. But none of that matters. All I know is that the worth of a person is great, and I'm doing the best that I can. The road ahead of me looks impossible and hard. But I know that with enough time, the right people to support me, and the right equipment, I can do anything.
Wow, what a great story, tapping in and hearing about the life of Ann Yoshida. We just saw her in the last heat. We saw her win the last heat. We're back live at the Dukes Ocean Fest. This is the Hawaii Adaptive Surfing Championships. Kaipagura along with Rocky Cannon and John Davis. And gosh, that was, you know, you talk about the stories, John, and Ann is just one of the many stories that we have here.
She is, and that just highlighted her journey back to the ocean, her journey back into the life that she wants to live. Everybody has expectations on her, I'm sure, of what they want her to do, but what does Ann want to do? And we got a good taste of it there. She's got a great trajectory, and the 17-year journey that she's been on since that accident has been just a tough at times, I'm sure. It's got some challenges and right. Everything, but at the end of the day, she's where she wants to be, I think, right now, and she's surrounded by family, surrounded by friends, and she's on that right path.
Yeah, you know, the sobering reality for her of, you know, I'm still doing what I want to do. It's just in a different way, and with the right people, the right equipment. You know, she's going to apply what she can apply and her skill and knowledge, and it's an amazing story, and we wish her all the best, and we're going to see her surfing again as she won that heat, so she advanced, and now we're into the back to the men's sitting division.
That's right.
Which we saw a glimpse of earlier in heat number 3. We're now in heat number 2 of that round 1 with Jeff Munson, Shaka, is that Charles Webb? Chaka or Shaka? I'm not sure if the CH is pronounced which way, but Jeff Brown is also out there, and Marcal Leme da Costa is out there.
We got a stacked lineup here for our wave ski heat. These guys, Jeff Munson, lots of experience. Chaka Webb, Charles Chaka Webb, grew up down in Southern California, has that great experience. Jeff Brown was a military, I think, in the Royal Navy out of Great Britain as well. living in California these days, Ireland, excuse me,
Okay.
living in California these days. And of course, the Brazilians are always hard to beat here. Is Marcel here in the seat? Or?
Marcel, well, he should
We'll
be
have
out
a
there.
look.
We'll
And
take
see
a
if
look.
we see
Yeah.
a black out there, but there's Duke's Creed, the aloha. In Hawaii, we greet friends, loved ones, or strangers with aloha, which means love. It's the key word and the universal spirit of hospitality, what makes Hawaii the world's center of understanding and trying to meet and leave people with aloha at every interaction. And Duke's Creed, so very vital. It's like one of those golden rules, kind of what do you call it, like a proverb of those, something along those lines. But Duke, man, he embodied the aloha spirit wherever he went, and thus we're celebrating with 9 days of Ocean Fest here at Waikiki. Great to see his statue adorned with all the fresh lei, and his birthday coming up on Friday. There'll be another lei ceremony on Friday, so if you're around, want to come down and see Duke on his birthday, that'll be on Friday. And that is his actual size. He was larger than life. No, I'm just kidding. He's was a normal sized guy, but you know, he's pretty strong stature when he was around. And you know, one of the fun movies to watch about Duke is The Ride. I think they were showing that on Hawaiian Airlines for a while. But amazing swimmer, as we've been mentioning, amazing athlete. I know Bo Hodge had a pretty cool story of teaching one of the kings of Antwerp to surf here in Hawaii many years ago. And of course, Duke's Waikiki right down the beach here, a great place to grab a bite, grab a drink, and check out some nostalgic museum-like history through the halls of that great restaurant right down the beach.
Wow. We just went down a verbal path, a verbal hike with Rocky Canyon. That was incredible. I didn't know where we were going. I didn't know when we were going to get to the summit, but we got there somehow.
Just follow me, bro.
That was incredible.
That was incredible. But he led me back to Duke, obviously, and our audience, I'm sure, is back at Duke. But I did find some back in the early days after Duke had passed. That sunset event was the Duke event, and the prestige at that was amazing.
Yeah, iconic event there at Sunset Beach. A lot of Hawaiian competitors getting their start right there, and Rocky Cannon, Kaipo Guerrero, John Davis joining you live here in our beach booth. Toes in the sand, eyes on the water.
Duke Kahanamoku, a surfer, we always talk about him. He was a great volleyball player.
Yeah.
Of course, Olympic medal winner in swimming. He
Water
was
polo.
Sheriff.
Sheriff of Honolulu.
Actor.
Correct.
Guy did a lot of stuff.
Invented surf polo, which we'll be featuring on Sunday here at Waikiki, down near the Kapahulu groin area, down by the pier over there. There's our beach set up right there with lots of opportunity to get out in the water. Request a local is what I've been saying on the beach when you seek surf lessons here at Waikiki.
Of course, we have the merchandise on sale, collector item stuff only available this week. Come on down if you're in the Honolulu area and get some of this wonderful merchandise from the Duke's Ocean Fest, all benefiting the Aoga Duke Kahanamoku Foundation.
Yeah, 100% of the proceeds from right here on the beach go directly to that foundation. They've awarded tons of money over the years for young Hawaii scholar athletes looking to take their skills to the next level. As you see one of those microfiber towels right there with Duke surfing on a wave. Pretty awesome. I got gifted one of those yesterday because they were really enjoying my announcements, getting people to make purchases there, donations.
You know what, John? We got coming up. I can see them getting ready in the water. Salt and Air Studios are going to bring us the Papio Cam.
Yeah.
We're going to get some underwater footage, I have a feeling, coming up. Just another layer of coverage. Compliments of Salt and Air Studios.
I saw, that's brother Jarrett Lau, J-Lau, the Otto J-Lau. I saw him yesterday doing some practice runs on the inside, and for a second, you see this dark shadow moving quickly beneath the surface. I was like, oh wait, that's brother Jay. I mean, if you had a dorsal fin on the back, you could really pull some pranks.
Of course, our Salt and Air Studio fearless leader is, you know, the preeminent underwater cinematographer of our era here. So it's pretty cool to have these new vehicles that are coming around. I saw some underwater footage yesterday of them riding these underwater propulsion devices through the caves around. It just blew my mind. And I heard the clarity wasn't even good that day. When the clarity is at its best, the shots are unbelievable. So hopefully today we got the clarity out there. We can see the underwater action.
Mahalos to Mike Prickett and the gang at Salt and Air Studios. Got a really awesome production here using the beach as our booth, tapping in the signals left and right. We're going to be you know, having more portals and outlets for viewing as the day goes on and into tomorrow.
Yeah, and explore.org streaming this. I think on that site you can also find out a little bit more about Mike Prickett, because you know, not only is he our leader here on the broadcast, he has an extremely interesting and inspirational story as well, right, John?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I followed Mike's recovery through the explore.org website after his diving accident. And it was just a eye-opener for me, because I'd kind of progressed to a point where I felt like I'm back. And truly, you're always a beginner. You're always relearning things. You're always kind of going through life as that, with those beginner set of eyes a lot of times. At least I try to do that. And to kind of see someone going through that I looked up to, and was somebody that, you know, watched a lot of the movies, watched a lot of the you know, things that he has done over the course of his life. They've been amazing. And to see that not only continue, but to see it elevate to the point where we're at now with Salt and Air and the other projects that he's working with. It's just hats off to Mike, and so stoked to be here.
A little bit of a mention for our surfer in this heat, Chaka Charles Webb. He's the founder of the Stoke for Life Foundation. Tell us a little bit about that, John.
Stoke for Life Foundation. What I really like, it's kind of that skateboard mentality. Rider events for riders. You know, you put on events for the athletes. He took all of the great ideas from priority to the judging. He brought me into the judging booth to help to smooth out some of the judging issues this last year, and I'll be doing that again this year. He implemented the first priority system, an adaptive event, which really gave people the space to roam and move. Fortunately, there was plenty of waves in Oceanside. We had just blessed with waves, and we just had a great event. Everybody had a great time, and I think it was, like I said, that rider-sponsored as well as that rider. We have Mike Prickett on street here.
Yep, directing, producing. Got the walkie-talkie in hand right there in our booth. You see all the latest controls and gadgets and widgets and all kinds of stuff that's been added to the toolbox here for Salt and Air Productions, and it really is turning into world-class production.
It is world-class. Hopefully at these other events we can be able to do that, like the Stoke for Life event coming up in Oceanside here. It's, I believe it's that second week in October. We'll get some dates and everything for our viewers out there to make sure all these dates are in their calendars. Thank you. Getting some updated heat sheets here as we move through the rounds, and we're starting to eliminate some athletes and starting to move through and get these brackets set up for these next heats as we move through these next 3 days.
Well, the pretty quiet heat right here in this men's sit division, and we actually have some of the favorites in this division in Jeff Munson and Charles Webb, and next heat we're going to have Rich Julian in the water as well. So this is kind of the best of adaptive surfing.
These are the guys right here, and there is sort of a conversation about the prone surfing and the wave surfing. The paddle is a sort of a conversation with people. I personally like to surf that way, as Kaipo mentioned earlier, same position as my sit skiing. It's a power position for paraplegics. You're upright. You can use your pitch and your yaw, your forward and back movements to weight. You have a lot of, you know, I have more trunk and more core than some, but you have that ability, if you do have that, to get up into the lip. But you also have that paddle, you know, and that paddle brings a little different dynamic to the lineup as well. You have to really respect the paddle. You know, like you said, you're not out there taking every wave you can just because you can. You're really in the lineup and in rotation just like everyone else. And the boards are a little bigger, the boards are a little heavier, so you got to make sure that respect is there for every other person in the lineup as well, because that's a big board you got. So it's great that these guys have queens all to themselves with just the three of them, and they can really showcase their skills. And I'm feeling a set coming.
Okay, you know, yesterday during the Matson Menehune Surf Fest, we did have some lulls, and I put it out there like, hey man, can't you guys make a call? Get a container ship that's in port right there. Let it drive right by. We'll surf off the Matson container ship wake, just like the oil tankers in Texas. It didn't happen. We didn't have a Matson container ship come by, but it was an idea getting thrown around maybe for next year. If we don't have any swell, just bring that container ship about 20 yards out from the break and let it speed by. I'm sure it'll generate something to ride.
Probably can orchestrate that. I don't know how near shore you can be on one of those containers.
Yeah, I don't even, their draft, I think, is quite large off the bottom. So we could be doing some reef damage if we bring that thing in too close.
The good news, got away. Bad news, we took out a whole section of reef.
And the boat is stuck.
Not like we haven't seen that before in these very waters. Not by Matson.
No.
But by some other vessels.
Smaller vessels, yeah.
Smaller vessels.
But we had a lot of fun with the kids yesterday. Matson, Menehune Madness. And so great to have them a part of it. There's canoes right there with one of the fixtures in the lineup. The namesake of the break right there. And just watching those guys navigate catching waves, I mean, they're pretty good at navigating and steering, but it's basically like point and shoot and everybody just get the heck out of the way.
You got it, you got it. And if you haven't surfed at Waikiki, Canoes is the place. It's kind of like the international market. It's you and all of your favorite friends that from all around the world.
From everywhere.
You just
all skill levels.
It's more people watching a lot of times. And if you're there to really surf, you're there for kind of the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
You're there for really
it's the whole experience,
exactly. Right? You're there to definitely catch waves and to do your thing, and they're going to come to you because it's canoes and it's so consistent. But, yeah, the canoes have the right of way wherever they take off.
Yep.
And if Lau Lau is the canoe, hang on. Okay, Rocky?
Hang on and watch out.
Jason Lau.
We've had a lot of fun on his,
on
his little Opelu out there. And that heat came to an end, and I'm not sure if we had any riders. We did have Junkinapo heats yesterday.
Well, okay, so translation, Rocky, Junkinapo.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Thank you. Some people call it Rochambeau, which I always thought was very strange. We call it Junkinapo in Hawaii, but I think rock, paper, scissors is the international.
Correct. Aloha, boys and girls. Welcome back to Waikiki for the Dukes Ocean Fest, third day of our event here. First day of our Hawaii Adaptive Surfing Championships, presented by AccessSurf.org. Rocky Cannon along with Bo Hodge and John Davis. There's a beautiful look at the scene here at Waikiki. Catamarans, floaties, surfboards, wave skis, paddle boards, canoes, all kinds of stuff. We are now in heat number 3 of our wave ski men's sit division.
Did you mean va'a?
There are va'a prevalent here at Waikiki. Absolutely. Cool. We got Chris Oberly in the red out there. We got Rich Julian in the white. Elias Valencia is out there in the yellow. And Mark Thornton in the black. And Bo, we've got quite a mix of competitors from all over the world.
Yeah, and I believe Rich Julian from Hawaii has pulled out of the event. He's just decided, you know, the competition just wasn't for him. He's one of the founding members of Access Surf, and he'd just rather have all the other competitors in the sit division compete. So we got another 3-man heat.
Okay. Well, there's a powerhouse pulling out of the event. And, you know, Rich, been around a long time, likes the bigger, more, you know, sizable conditions. Looking at it today, he's probably just more jazzed and juiced to be on the beach cheering for his fellow athletes.
Here's our competitor from Chile. He's in yellow there, and you notice he doesn't have a paddle, but his type of inflection, he can't use a paddle, but the only way he can surf is in the sitting position, correct, John? And he uses his hands as his paddle.
And we've had a couple athletes that do that. I know there's another athlete, I believe, from Australia that's doing that as well. And that's that conversation with that paddle as well. Being able to respect that paddle, it comes with a lot of a lot of ability. You can get yourself into good situations, and you get yourself into trouble too. I like the paddle with your hands aspect. It brings it back to that surfing. It moves you at a pace that's nice and slow and steady. You get back out to the lineup kind of at the same speed as everybody else, and you're kind of in a good rotation with that. From a competitive standpoint, you really got to pick the eyes out of these waves. You got to get those two best waves because your energy level is going to drop a lot quicker than someone with a paddle in their hand. So
possibly taking off a little bit later in the curl because of the different type of propulsion as opposed to the paddle.
But John, the classification is still a sit.
Classification is still the same. You can use a paddle and not use a paddle. It's that upright that you're looking at here. You're upright, you're seated, and you can see them. They still look fairly similar, but you can see our competitor there from Chile. That's Elias there. And great conversations with him, great young man. I mentioned that Chilean delegation has their trainers, has their coaches, has their translators here with them. That was a direct correlation with events like Dukes, events like Stow for Life, events like, the WSA and HSA, all these events that people get the word out and someone in Chile hears about it. And next thing you know, we have a delegation from Chile here, and they are strong and they're pushing the sport with a different style of surfing without a paddle.
In the first year of the ISA World Championships down at La Jolla, CAF, Challenge Athletes Foundations, teamed up with the ISA to have a symposium of speakers, of athletes, shapers, designers, and military and therapists that were all talking. And I was monitoring and hosting that symposium. And right after the event, the people from Chile came over to the group from Access Surf Hawaii. How can we start our adaptive day at the beach? And we said, I'll send you all the paperwork. And we sent it to Chile, and now we're starting to see more athletes. Elias has been coming to the ISA Worlds and here at Queens for the last 4 or 5 years.
And that's our shot right there from our Papillo cam, we like to say. That's Jarrett Lau out there on that little underwater scooter, zooming around and getting a nice up-close shot of Mr. Valencia right there.
Well, Rocky in the red jersey, Chris Orberly, if you ever at an adaptive event at the WSA events up and down the coast of California, he is one of the powerhouses in the sit division, isn't he, John?
He is. I got a call from a really good friend, Jeremy Jones, big mountain snowboarder from Truckee, California. Chris and I had never met in Lake Tahoe and Truckee, and Jeremy was that connector for us. And after his accident, Jeremy called me and said, hey, I have a friend, I need to get him going. And I contacted Chris, let him know about surfing. And he's taken it to the next level. He is so passionate about surfing, it's unbelievable. This is a young man from Kansas. Wow. Grew up in the plains of Hutchinson, Kansas here with no surfing background. He's getting news articles about the kid from Hutch that's the surfing champion in Southern California. Wow. So he's kind of a big deal back at home as well.
That's awesome.
But Chris is just an amazing athlete. He grew up snowboarding, skiing, mountain biking were kind of the big sports for him. He's also an accomplished architect. And if anybody travels through LAX airport in the international, I know Rocky, you and Kaipo probably do a lot, the international terminal, he worked with one of the preeminent artists of our time, Mark Bradford, in creating this giant artistic piece that hangs in the international terminal. It's called the Scoreboard.
Okay.
And he just has a life that a lot of people are envious of. He travels, he surfs, he's got this great career, and it's just neat to see. And here's Rich Julian here. He's just pulled out of the event, and Rich has given other athletes opportunities to be in the water, have those chances at the waves.
Well, his wife, Kate, is a therapist over at St. Francis, I believe. And they've got a brand new daughter. Of course, they have an older son, a teenage son, who's very active in surfing and quite accomplished himself. And Rich did this a few years ago. He does this every once in a while, the event. It's the competitor in Iraq, right? Some days you have it and some days you don't. And you just make the call.
Yeah, and he's definitely not going to miss it for the world. He's going to be here. But look at that big old bear hug right there.
Little Malia, just such a sweetheart, and that's changed Richie's life right there as well. And you can see where competition would take a backseat to that.
For sure. Any moments missed with that little princess right there. Much more worth it to be embracing her and then scrambling around with these guys. But it's a lot of fun out there with our surfer in red, trying to get the positioning here. It's one of the bigger waves of the last couple of heats, and they're really scratching for it. And close in comfort right there. Looks like Elias Valencia went down. Chris Oberly making the most of that one right there. Caught up with the whitewater. Got one little turn in there.
What do you think, guys? Was there a bumping of a rail there?
Something's going to occur here. I think there'll be some type of a triangle situation, either on Chris or on Elias. I'm a little Rocky. What do you think?
It's all a matter of if there was any
scoring potential hindered.
Or scoring potential hindered.
And the judges have called a couple of triangles already this morning.
I think
Lapo,
that wave, where it was caught, it had broken already. So the scoring potential was kind of nil, if you will, already. Because once the wave breaks, you know, if you're turning in the whitewater, the scoring potential is different than if you're on the open face. So they were a little too far in for this one, which can happen when you have inconsistent conditions. But I think that would in my view, that one would just stand and keep it as it is.
A no call.
A no call.
No call.
Elias didn't really affect his scoring potential. He was in his area, but scoring potential could have gone either way. That wave was a whitewater wave, so for Elias's point of view, he could have said, I was trying to get to left. He was trying to get the right. So I think that would be an appropriate no call.
I think so too. And I really think everybody that's watching now got a good taste of how the paddling works there. Elias was in that situation. He was making some headway. He was digging. He was making some headway. Chris had that paddle. He could obviously kind of maneuver a little bit differently than Elias there as well. So it's just a great contrast of similar sitting position skiers here or surfers here with that paddle and no paddle. And I do like the way Elias is doing this. The boards are a little kind of canoed out. They have that little bit more of a hollow, so he can sit down in a little bit more, get that center of gravity a little bit lower, get his arms down in the water so he has more purchase on his arms.
Yes.
And I think the technology is getting to the point where a lot more people will be surfing without a paddle going forward.
Yeah, I mean, look at how much of his arm is buried in the water when you watch him stroke like that. It is making some really good forward progress. You know, compared to the paddle, it's quite different. But when you look at his abilities and the way, you know, he has to adapt to make his board go forward, he's doing amazing to keep that board moving forward. And he's going to be in position for this one right here, right in the mix with the paddles on either side. And Elias Valencia just can't quite get into it, and neither can Chris Oberly. That wave was one of those mirages.
That was. And Chris is riding a new ski for him. It's actually not a new ski for him. It's a ski he's had, but a new design for him. A Max Ski. I think he's out of that Ventura, Santa Barbara area. Max Ski, longtime wave ski designer and shaper. And a lot of these guys, they were going traditional surfboard shapers, the Steve Bainey's, the traditional kind of surfboard guys, and having these wave skis made. And now they're finding out some of these more traditional wave ski manufacturers can help them as well. So there's another avenue for board shaping and board design and different rockers, different rails, all of those design features that translate to performance.
Didn't Chris Oberly win the U.S. Open Adaptive in Oceanside last year?
I don't think, no, he did not win it last year. It was Jeff Munson won it last year. Yeah, Jeff did. Chris was, I think he was knocked out early rounds in that. Freddie Carrillo did make it. We haven't talked about Freddie yet.
Chaka made that final.
Freddie made that final with Ethan and
Munson.
Jeff Munson.
Yeah.
And Freddie Carrillo.
But we were seeing that Oceanside event that Chaka puts on, which is coming up the first weekend of October. Again, the second annual U.S. Open Adaptive Surfing Championships in Oceanside. Guys were hitting the pier, especially in this surf ski division.
And from the beautiful sights of Waikiki, we bring you into our beach booth. Rocky Cannon right here, Bo Hodge on my right, John Davis on my left. Kaipo Guerrero is joining us as well, as you've seen throughout the broadcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. Surfline.com, explore.org, saltairstudios.com. So great to kind of break into a historic moment here and have our first live broadcast from Hawaii for the Adaptive Surfing Championships.
Now, we had it a few years back, I believe maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago here at the Dukes Ocean Fest when it was
webcast around the world. But
it was just our Hawaii competitors. So special this year having our international competitors travel from around as we watch one of our co-producers, Jason Lau, steering his canoe out of the little beach area there just to the left of us, and having a lot of fun on that canoe.
He was trying to hijack Kaipo in for the ride.
He was trying to drag Kaipo out there, but we wouldn't let him because we got to get Kaipo back in the booth. There's no such thing as a little 20-minute run with Jason Lau. You're going to be out there for a while.
And look at the effort Oberle's just trying to put in and the frustration he's having. This high tide, we're coming up on a full moon in just about a half a week here. And, you know, some areas around the world, I remember I was in Biarritz, France last year. They had a 15-foot tide. You guys in California, 7, 8 feet tides. Here in Hawaii, we only have a foot or two, but with our reefs, major and minor events happen with swell or no swell.
Yeah, it does make a difference, especially here at Queens. You can see throughout the tidal movements, the consistency of the waves is very affected. And right now, only one wave ridden by Chris Oberle in the red. In the previous heat, I believe we didn't have a wave ridden, so they'll have to do the rock, paper, scissors, junk in a pole style. We had a couple of those yesterday. The kids were eager to get it on with their rock, paper, and scissors.
But John, how beautiful is this?
Oh, man.
Glowing reef, the HD cameras that capturing the sandy green bottoms and the reef here at Waikiki Beach. You know, we're in the Queens area. 2 Bravo, 2 Charlie, the lifeguard towers that Rocky and I used to work here. I know I did. I don't know if you worked every town, Rock.
I
unfortunately not.
Did not. I was trying to avoid that for whatever reason. Mostly the commute.
Yeah,
was
Rocky,
the
you were
big
more
deal.
of a North Shore, but I was a townie here, and there's the 2 Delta area, the enclosed areas, the Kapahulu growing, 2 Echo on the outside. Surf Lifesaving, Kenny Russ, DJ, and the boys out on the water out here today.
The same wave that Duke Hanamoku surfed.
It's so amazing.
Well,
he's surfed over that reef, you know.
There are stories and legends that Duke caught a wave on the outside of Castles over where Diamond Head is, where Kaimana Beach and the Outrigger Canoe Club was, and rode it all the way to the Pink Palace. But, you know, there was different bottoms. You know, there wasn't the Alawai Canal then. There wasn't there used to be an opening over by the 2 Echo area, so the Kapahulu area. So there were different times. And can you
Subtle
imagine
changes.
that wave today, Rocky?
Yeah. Oh, man. That'll be like a couple-minute ride.
That was, you know, a couple of miles.
Yeah. Beautiful landscape and seascape right there. The famous Diamond Head that has been in probably trillions of photos over the years.
Mount Leahi.
Yes, absolutely.
The Hawaiian name for Diamond Head. They used to have in the 60s and 70s
And I hear
rock concerts there. The Sunshine Festival, the Leahi
It kind of looks
celebration.
like an ahi fin.
Kinda, yeah.
One of the stories that Uncle Kimo Leong was telling me.
And do you know how it got the English Anglo name Diamond Head? The sailors who used to come here used to walk the beaches, and the sparkles in the sand, they thought they were picking up diamonds, and they would take them back home. These aren't diamonds. And they're going, yeah, I got them over there at that Diamond Beach, you know, by the volcano. And thus, it kind of grew the reputation of being known as Diamond Head.
Well, and some adaptive athletes right there getting set to roll into the surf. Our amazing volunteers that dedicate their time, as you said, John. Bo, you've been to a number of the beach days down at White Plains. We saw some clips during our commercial break of the events that happened, the stoke on not only the participants' face, but the volunteers also, the smiles, the stoke. Tell us a little bit about when and how those days happen.
Every first Saturday of the month at White Plains, and once a year in August, we take them to Kualoa just
Okay.
as a break, and we take them outrigger sailing canoe, paddle boarding, kayaking, and take away the surf aspect of that. Every third Wednesday of the month, we have Wounded Warriors for military only. We found the therapy the ocean gives, like
the healing powers.
The healing powers. It's just a beautiful feeling. We do that at Fort DeRussy, and we alternate White Plains and Fort DeRussy as we go through. And just a beautiful view here in Waikiki. And there's Captain Jack Sparrow. commanding the pirate ship out on the outside seas here in Honolulu.
We'll be right back with more action from the Dukes Ocean Fest, the Hawaii Adaptive Surfing Championship. Stay right there. We'll be right back. Welcome back. A beautiful horizon view of Waikiki. Pirate ship, stand-up paddler, right to our Queens lineup right there. This is the Hawaii Adaptive Surfing Championship, all part of the Dukes Ocean Fest right here in the Waikiki Kuhio Beach area. Rocky Canada alongside Bo Hodge. Bo, we were in the sitting division. Now we're back into the standing division.
Yeah, we got 4 athletes from around the world. We got Rikuya Yamamoto from Japan, Pegleg Bennett from Great Britain, Scott Metcalf from the United States, and Sean Rangant from Switzerland competing here. And this is a division where first place goes into the semifinals, and second, third, and fourth are delegated into the second round. And what we've adapted here into this competition, we hate to see, we've got over 80 athletes from 15 countries come to Hawaii, and if they lose in their first heat, we hate to see them go by. So we have a double elimination type format. It rewards the ones who do well in the first rounds, and it gives a second chance to the surfers who don't place well in the first rounds to surf yet again to stay alive. They have that in the ISA formats and the WSL type formats where they surf at least twice, and it gives every athlete at least 2 times. So every athlete competing in whatever division out here will have a 2-shot try of advancing on into the Hawaii Adaptive Surfing Championships.
Well, we got a big boat driving by out there. We should have a set coming in a few minutes with that wake coming off that ship there. But some of our athletes waiting for their next heat right there by the red Dukes buoy.
Yeah, we got Jim Russell out there in the gray jersey. He's heading up our water patrol. We see DJ from the Aloha Surf Lifesaving and some of those competitors in the other jerseys getting ready for their next heat. But one of the fun things that we started with Access Surf last year here in Waikiki during the Dukes Ocean Fest was Surfing with the Stars. We had Carissa Moore and Makua Rothman last year, and this year we invited back the WSL Big Wave champion Makua Rothman And we've got a whole new array of Surfing with the Stars coming up tomorrow. And this is a fundraiser opportunity. There was a chance you could buy a $20 ticket to surf with one of these famous surf stars. And not only with Makuakai Rothman as one of the featured athletes, we're going to see founder of Hurley Surfwear, Bob Hurley. Not only a special founder of the Hurley Surfwear, but a famous shaper, a rep, surf rep, and an entrepreneur, as you would say.
Yeah, he's been helping out with recording artists, too. I know Ron Artis II
That's right.
has been able to record
and
at the
speaking
Hurley
of recording
Studios.
artists, we got guitarists from Metallica, Kirk Hammett.
Wow.
As they get ready for their world tour starting just a week after this. I mean, he has a house here in Hawaii Kai, Kirk, and he is a very proponent of surfing and a huge rock star. And it's great to have him. Speaking of rock stars, Guy Hoggy. Hawaii News Now. He's very busy with Hector. Maybe we can get a word with Guy tomorrow and the hurricane swell and things like that. And Benji Weatherly, North Shore resident and surfer and filmmaker and surf caddy and things like that. Joel Centeo, former Hawaiian Pro and XL Pro champion on the North Shore, now the Hurley rep and professional team rider. And of course, we're going to bring back Kala Alexander, a competitor at the Eddie, and an all-around waterman. He competed in the Ultimate Waterman Challenge down in New Zealand for the last 3 years in a row. And one of our favorite artists, Hilton Alves.
Oh, yeah. Such a talented individual and such a giving individual. Donates so much of his time with getting kids really stoked about art. And great to have all those very prominent individuals joining us tomorrow, and it'll be a fun time. There's another great shot of the canoe captained by Jason Lau Lau right there over the clear crystal waters of Waikiki. Such a great view from up above, really showcasing the resiliency of this water quality with the amount of people that come down here and use this beach. It still looks like a swimming pool out there. So clean.
Well, the conditions are providing that for us today. If we had a good, healthy south swell, which we're going to see in the next couple of days coming up here with that possibility of Hurricane Hector.
Hurricane Lane.
Hurricane Lane, excuse me, that is coming up. We saw Hector a couple of weeks ago. Will stir up some waves. A lot of the sandy bottom will churn up the sand on the bottom, and you won't be able to see a whole lot of that reef. And there's a canoe surf break where the world-famous Waikiki Beach Boys will take you surfing, and a lot of fun times out there. You can see the Moana Hotel and the Outrigger Hotel to the left, and you see the Hyatt Regency, the two tall towers, and here we go, up and riding.
Nice little set. That is Black up and riding. That is Sean Reingout, our Swedish competitor. Or, sorry, our Swiss competitor. Little 360 board spin right there, or twirly on the board, and stays on for a moment. And we saw White briefly up and riding. Peg Leg Bennett. And you could tell he's comfortable with his situation.
Well, this is the amputee type division. This is the stand division. A lot of these surfers, a majority of them are amputees, whether
have prosthetic limbs,
prosthetic legs, and the classifications in the future will be, you know, above knee, below knee type. But right now, we just stick all of our champion won the Hasa event this past year.
Yeah, and we did see surfers sharing a wave right there, so we're going to be curious on whether or not there was
impeding scoring potential on.
Looked like maybe there was enough separation between them.
Yeah, there's that wave pool that you're talking about. We don't have the Kelly Slater wave pool. I understand Kaipo is booking his trip to the Surf Ranch for the WSL event, and we're excited for him. And that's going to be an exciting event, and that's just the future of surfing. You're seeing the future of surfing, and there's the duck that'll be competing against your dogs, Rocky.
Oh, man, that's so awesome. I've heard really cool things surfing duck, and we'll see him on Thursday.
There's Ryan in the middle. He's heading up our coordinating volunteers for Access Surf. And that duck is a therapy duck that she brings down every first Saturday of the month at White Plains. And if you want to get involved with Access Surf, you can come on down. Come to our monthly gathering every first Saturday of the month at